And now. Brandon, did you
Now,
Recording in progress.
Right. This meeting is convened at 6:32 on 24th of June, 2026. I'm Kimo Griggs, Chair of the Norwich Selectboard. I'm joined by Brandon Klassen, Vice Chair, Mary Layton, Matt Sweat, and Rob Gear. Town Manager Brendan Duffy is with us running a Zoom session. Notes will be taken by Jenny Tolman in her final performance. And Junction Arts and Media is enabling our digital communications and recording. Thank you for attending this regular meeting of the Select Board as general supervision of the town of Norwich. We appreciate the valued contributions of our town employees, elected and appointed officials, and the many volunteers that make our town what it is. We endeavor to be respectful of everyone while keeping what is best for Norwich as our North Star. If you are recognized during our meeting, please try to keep your presentation to a maximum of 3 minutes. Vice Chair Klassen has been invited to remind you when your allotted time is up. Thank you. First item is the agenda, discussion, motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose if we could advance item 19 further up the agenda for this evening, and this is to the approved minutes June 3rd and June 10th, to move them forward just for tonight and maybe potentially in future as a general custom, but that can be taken offline. Just a couple of discrepancies I wanted to speak about with the June 3rd minutes. Get them up, discussed early in tonight's agenda.
The difference between early and late is so the public people are not waiting around, or what?
Bit of both. Importance, priority, public attention, and our diligence early.
Okay. It's a surprise. So it's the first time we're hearing of this desire. So my own tendency would be to ask that this be requested ahead of time so that we all have advance warning. And we set it when we're setting the agenda, which you were there for. So.
It was a little bit last minute, I do apologize.
I mean, if you have a specific reason to put it up there, I think we're all ears, but.
Right. Well, I think there's some inconsistencies, I think, between the minutes and the agenda, I think are pretty clear cut. But there's also some procedural oversights, I think, that we may want to look at. The procedural oversights we can take in a minute, but the inconsistency was that if we look at, they're quite long, sorry, item 4.
Are we doing
We
this
haven't
now?
decided it yet.
Yeah, we haven't.
Well, ask me to explain why I want to move it.
Yeah, how much detail you have to go into explain.
All right. So item 4 was not warned in the agenda as an executive session, and yet it's classified as an executive session in the minutes.
Is that,
I guess I'm trying to.
You're talking about in the minutes.
In the agenda, going back to June the 3rd, which was posted 7 days ahead of time.
But why is that a reason?
Why
to
is that
move forward
something-
on the agenda?
Well, I don't think we can approve the minutes for June 3rd as they stand.
But
Given
is
that,
there a reason we can't not approve them later?
okay.
I'm just,
Yeah, I just thought we'd get it up and out early, but if there's no inclination, then I'm happy to wait.
okay.
I just assume leave the minutes where they are on the agenda.
Okay.
That's personal opinion.
I'm not sure there's a compelling reason to, I mean, usually we've switched things around because we have, VIPs waiting in the audience and we don't want them to have to sit through everything. But I'm not sure I hear that that's a reason here.
Okay.
We can look forward.
I mean VIP status.
Oh, no, you're going to be here no matter what.
People over here.
Correct. Just that it is late in the agenda, but, well, we'll get to it.
Yeah, but it pushes everything else.
I'm flexible.
All right. I wondered about Article 36 task force recommendation. I guess I was expecting that there'll be some specific recommendations being made, and there's nothing in the packet, so I don't know how we.
I think we could suggest that we just remove that from the agenda.
For today?
Yeah.
Is that all right? And bring it back when we have, okay.
Yeah.
Is that all right with everyone?
Sure. Yes.
All right, take number 5 off. Was there anything else on here? Anything else?
Time saving. I have unfortunately been unable to address town expense and reimbursement policy submission. Respectfully request
So-
that be tabled to next time.
All right, 13 is off the list. Is that all right with everyone?
Yep.
All right. Any other modifications? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda as amended to remove number 5 and number 13.
I'll second.
Everybody's name now, I've been gone. Layden, any discussion? No discussion, let's vote. Clausen,
Aye.
Layden,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Sweat,
Yes.
and Griggs is a yes. Terrific, thank you. Chair's report, since our last meeting on June 10th, I've been traveling and attending the minimum requirements. My position as chair, I'm glad to be back in town. Look forward to providing some pithy commentary in our next packet. End of my report. I don't really have much. It's nice to be away. Number 3, public comments for items not on the agenda. We have a public comment and another public comment. Let's take one from the floor, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm John Carroll, Temple Flat Road. The point I want to draw to your attention is that your agenda for the 3 June meeting failed to mention that the discussion under item 4, response to Kentucky complaint, would involve a possible executive session. Because you failed to notify the public that there was a possible executive session, then I do believe it's illegal for you to enter into executive session. And if that is the case, then anything you did or decided in that executive session is without grounds. And I do understand from your summary that Mr. Briggs gave a summary, according to the minutes, he gave a summary saying that no decisions were made. But I have reason to believe that, in fact, you did make some decisions in that meeting. But as it happens, if you did, they're irrelevant today. They're moot because the meeting was illegally convened. And I might observe that in the executive session number 3, if any directions were given to the attorney about how the board wished to proceed in any regard, those constitute an action. I don't, of course, know, but you met for well over an hour. And so a citizen such as myself might think, gosh, they talked for an awful long time. Do you mean to say that they talked and nothing came of it? Or was there some guidance or consensus about what should be done next? Mr. Sweat's summary says no decision, no actions were taken. That would mean that no instructions or suggestions to the town attorney were made, let alone to the town manager. And if that is really so, so be it. But I would wonder, without evidence, other than that you spent an hour and 14 minutes talking about it. Thank you.
So to be clear, this is the commentary June 3rd special meeting.
We're talking about June 3rd. I'm talking about the 3rd item on the agenda. And I've talked earlier about the 4th item on the agenda.
But, okay, so
3rd item says possible executive
Right.
session. Number 4 does not.
Does not, and therefore it's an illegal executive session. And therefore, anything you did or decided or discussed is moot, doesn't exist, and you must start over again if you want to be doing anything on that topic. And on item 3, you met for an hour and a quarter and you come out and told us that no decisions were made.
Mr. Chair,
Understood. Yes.
I think Mr. Carroll may be referring to the draft minutes, June 10th, top of page 11. I'll read it, save you finding it. Klassen shared that he had doubt that decisions were in fact discussed and decided upon in a meeting, despite it being in a straw poll. Griggs reminded Klassen that it was an executive session and to be careful in discussing it further. Further down, Klassen reiterated doubts that decisions which may ultimately come across our table as warrant articles to be approved in future were discussed and decided upon at that meeting.
Okay, Mary.
Point of order, are we getting back into the minutes agenda item?
Feels like it. So I'm going to take items not on the agenda from the public. If I may. Yes, Lily, I think.
Thank you. May have unstable internet, but I'm going to do the best I can. Article 36 discussion was tabled, I believe, or scratched from the agenda. So I just wanted to make a comment on that. That being that Article 36 was voted on 7 years ago, and we all know that in the last 7 years, things have changed. We've been through a pandemic. We've seen oil prices skyrocket and education prices skyrocket. We have the chance for the general election ballot in November to add local questions. And the select board may want to talk about adding something to the general election ballot that would be, you know, an update on Article 36, perhaps letting the voters decide if they're willing to spend extra money on this at a time when their taxes are going up, perhaps just asking if there's still buy-in for it. And I just wanted to put this out there. The deadline for me letting the elections office know that there will be local articles is July 17th. And the deadline for submitting those articles is August 3rd. So put that in your head. And I just thought I would bring that up.
Thank you. Timely. Much appreciated. Any other comments? Yes.
Cheryl Lindbergh Lister. I wanted to give you and the public an update on our progress. Today, we bound a copy of the 26 grand list abstract, which will be filed tomorrow with the town clerk, and proper postings will be done throughout the town and on the listserv and on the website. There's still a bit to do. But I thought I'd let you know that we're going to send 623 letters of change of assessment letters to the post office tomorrow, with another 163 letters for the land use allocation folks. So we've stuffed and sealed and made ready for postage tomorrow to do that. Those all get sent by certificate of mailing, though the post office confirms that what we're sending is on the list of addresses that we give to them. That takes them several hours as well. During 26, we have acquired 14 new parcels. We have a couple new veterans. We have 3 additional current use landowners. And the abstract that we are filing tomorrow will be a total of $1,261,050,000 against a final grand list that was lodged at the end of the year with the state of $1,239,201,000 for a difference of $21,849,000, roughly speaking. So we will see decreases probably in that number. With 623 change of assessment letters, at least 300 of those have to do with the computer software, our software upgrade. And we saw things today of, we had a lot of $100 ones. So if you are so lucky as to get a $100 one, you're not going to have much of an assessment change, right? If you divide that by 100, it's $1. So please, people, don't worry about those small numbers. Some went down, so there'll be some that'll be pleased with a small reduction in their assessment. With that, we begin grievances on July 10th at 9 a.m. That will be in each and every letter that was sent out. Everybody has received a letter until 4:30 on July 9th to submit a written grievance, which must occur
What's that date, July?
July 9th
Okay.
at 4:30. We'll post all of this, as I said, again. But just wanted to set you all, clearly note that, and to the public's point, a lot of people listen to the select board meetings, recordings. We did this 21 days later than anticipated, but 9 days earlier than the deadline. So that's the good news. We'll push it along. We don't know how many grievances we will receive, so that will be the next part that we address in our work. Lastly, in with each of the letters, we did include a memo from the Board of Listers to let people know that their change may relate to one of 5 different items. And permit inspections, as we mentioned, we did about 65 of those. We did some neighborhood code changes, which relate to corrections from the reappraisal. The software conversion, again, about 300 and some odd of those out of the 600 letters. And we corrected some other assessment errors that we found while we've done the work of the 2026 grand list, and just removing some under construction percentages that were on properties that no longer have permits. So we've cleaned up a lot in this effort, and we will work with everybody that is of any concern, which has a grievance to file with us, to understand why they don't feel the current assessment now would be incorrect. So with that said,
Just for clarity, we just finished grievances, feels like. So these new grievances are for,
but those ones that you were involved in were the BCA decisions for needing to be made on those that appealed the lister's grievance decision. So those did linger. There was a better handful of those than normal from the reappraisal. Those did get wrapped up, but everything was done before 12/31. And this new grand list, the abstract, is as of 4/1 of 26 and don't involve any of those. So depending on how many we receive and how many we don't satisfy as listers, those will move through as an appeal to the BCA.
Thanks.
Yep. So I just wanted to give you some statistics and some information. We've worked hard. We got done today. We got a couple of them bound. Tomorrow we'll bind the rest, file with the town clerk, and get it all advertised and posted to the town. So.
Are you happy with the new software?
Well, mostly.
Further question.
We mostly are. I mean, there's a couple features that are very helpful, and then there's many questions. We have a to-do list to work out. One of the other things, by the way, is getting all of the new property record cards up on the town website by Friday, so that those that get these change of assessment letters can see their property record card and print it out and look at it. So that is one of the last goals, to have them there by Friday morning. So
one last question. If there's 630 odd change of assessment letters, how many properties or parcels receive no notification or because nothing's changed?
So if there isn't a change in either the real property assessment, a house site assessment, or a homestead assessment, you did not get a letter. Question is a good one, because I should always mention that anybody can grieve their property assessment any year at any time for any reason. So it's a good thing to ask me, and I would have forgotten to mention that, but you don't have to have gotten a letter from us to grieve your assessment.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
any other items? The public not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Move on. Committee appointments, number 4. Anyone like to move these appointments? First is 4A is Energy Committee, Aaron Laperty.
I move to appoint Aaron Lamperti to a seat on the Energy Committee for a 3-year term expiring March 31st, 2029.
I'll second it.
Right, any discussion?
I had a question, just in general. I know that we have said that we encourage people to show up for their appointment. But it's not clear to me whether we require it. Am I correct that we don't require people to show up, but we're just suggesting? Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure that we weren't doing something we weren't supposed to, or that we.
I think particularly where it's a known person. We have a comment. It is preferred.
Preferred. Okay.
Pam Smith, resident. I believe your policy says that if it's a new appointment, they must appear.
Okay. I kind of remembered you saying that at one other time.
If it's a reappointment, then it's not as critical, but if it's a new appointment, the policy says that they must appear.
I see.
Yeah.
Is that policy where?
It's under,
Yes, you're right. I'm not actually specifically talking about Aaron, but like, I was trying to get clarity on this.
it's under Select Board policies on the website. There's a committee appointment policy.
So I didn't think that applied to Aaron because he's been on it before.
Yeah, that's fine. I was asking for general knowledge. And I appreciate the answer.
It will apply.
But the policy is that if it's a new appointment, they must appear. If it's a reappointment, then it's not as critical. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there a gap in his tenure or?
Yeah.
It's contiguous?
That was a gap.
Was a
Yeah.
gap.
He was last on the committee 2023, perhaps.
If there's concern, I can
I have no
ask.
concern.
I don't have any concern. Thank you.
Any discussion?
Well,
If I may, in reference to the policy in general, it has been difficult traditionally to get 100% of everybody before the board. And this last April, I remember there were several people who couldn't make it. It happened to fall during school vacation. And so that was a contributing factor. But how would we change it from suggestion of attending to sincere attempt to attend?
Mary.
just change the language in the policy.
Yeah.
So we could have an agenda item to do that.
Or we send a note out to them ensuring that if they're applying, they need to know they need to come.
Well, strongly encouraged might be more realistic though,
Yeah.
rather than required.
In the spring, we had proxies. People came in and represented them, and that seemed acceptable.
So it seems like putting this on the agenda to modify the policy to more expansive language if we want to, is a good idea.
Probably is.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Priscilla Vincent. I would think that for somebody that you don't know, or maybe you're a new member of the board and you haven't known somebody who's been on before, it would be kind of nice to know who it is you're appointing. And I think with an issue like with school vacation week, why couldn't that agenda item be put on a different week, different meeting, instead of having to change the policy?
Town manager.
Thank you. I was just going to point out, I just pulled up the policy here. So the way it reads is if said applicant is new to the committee or commission, the applicant is required to be interviewed by the select board at a mutually agreeable select board meeting date. So I think the process there, negotiation, is a new applicant. The town manager's office could confirm that they are able to attend the meeting, which they're going to be considered. And if they say no, or not able to attend that meeting, then we would have to find a mutually agreeable future meeting where they can attend and be interviewed. So I don't know what the policy is.
We don't
Since the
need to do
updates
that.
are below. This looks like it was back in 2019 when it was adopted, so certainly look at it.
Do applicants know where to find that policy?
I doubt it.
But we can just reach out to them and explain that they need to be
Yeah.
here.
Oh, and send a note out to the committee heads. If committee chairs know that
Sure.
they have to show up, they can tell the people applying they need to show up.
That's good.
Sort of, put the responsibility down to the committee chair. Can't hurt.
Can't hurt.
Yes,
I was just going to add to that I think we do send out a notice to people, or we have an application where we could actually put that in writing, the application. They need to be aware, if it's a new applicant, they are going to be required to attend a select board meeting. That might be useful to provide that up front.
yeah,
That'd be great.
so maybe multiple reminders. Remind the chairs, send it out with the announcements. Okay. Now, Adam Lamperti, he's been on this energy committee before. I think it's known. I'm tempted to go ahead and vote him on. Others in agreement? Should we vote? Clausen,
Aye.
Clayton,
Yes.
Here,
Yes.
Sweat.
Yes.
Great to see, yes. Now, the other two, Finance Committee and Recreation Council, are new appointments, I believe, Nicholas Wood and Elena Kennedy. So perhaps we want to, yes, we have a public comment.
Sorry. Christy James, Chair, or Vice Chair of the Finance Committee. Yeah, Nick's been on it for a while. It's just,
Nick, oh, he's.
Nick Wood. He's re-up, yes.
Yeah, he said he's been on it for the past 3 years.
Yes, he's just renewing it.
I'm sorry, yeah, it does say, I thought that was for a 3-year.
Right, so I don't think he needs to be
Fine.
interviewed or brought in for,
Good. Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, well, would anyone like to move B, 4B?
I move to appoint Nicholas Wood to a seat on the Finance Committee for a 3-year term expiring March 31st, 2029.
Second?
All right, any discussion? None, I will vote. Clausen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
Here,
Yes.
Sweat.
Yes.
And Griggs, yes. Terrific. Recreation Council, I know Elena Kennedy. I don't know if anyone else does, but she has not been on this committee before. They just moved back last year. Would we like to require that she come in and introduce herself?
Consistent with our policy.
Yeah,
We see if we could move it ahead of one meeting, see if
Sure.
that's agreeable to her.
so the only difference here is this is a council rather than a committee.
Still an appointment.
Still an appointment, but I think the policy mentions committees and, right? So
I stand the policy to
and
cover
this
both.
council works a little differently than the others.
We should harmonize.
It'd be nice to meet her. I mean, for the
Okay.
reasons stated,
So-
I think it's nice to meet someone if we're appointing.
Council or
We
committee.
will table this.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I would.
I think so too.
That, and I mislabeled that B, that was supposed to be C. Sorry about that. All right, terrific. Item 5 is off the list. Item number 6, Trustees of Public Funds request. We have a very clear explanation in the packet. Wonder if anyone would like to move this. Both the Trustees of Public Funds request and the Cemetery Commission request.
I'll move it, number 6.
Number 6.
Yeah, Trustees of Public Funds request. I move to authorize the town manager and director of the finance office to perform actions necessary to bring the Trustees of Public Funds Fund under general ledger control while maintaining these funds in the general ledger separately and implementing reconciliation procedures for all key accounts on a regular basis, following the recommendations of Sullivan, Powers and Company in the June 30th, 2025 audit report.
Moved by Leighton.
Second.
Discussion. Any discussion on this? Barry?
I just think it's a really good practice to do this. I just think it'll be thoroughly monitored, more transparent to the public, what's going on with it. Just a good practice.
Is there any downside?
I think only the startup effort, it seems like.
Like the transition, do you mean?
Yeah, the memo from the finance office, they clearly need to receive a bunch of information before they set everything up. And so, but it seems like, that's worth it.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a,
I thank you, Matt, for mentioning Barry's memo. So I just want to make sure everybody read that and understood. I think she's focused on this one primarily on the Cemetery Commission, I believe, but it is kind of incumbent on those entities, the public funds and the Cemetery Commission, to be very cooperative and quickly so that this can get established. So I don't know if that should be an amendment to the motion out there and to request that the entity be responsive to any requests from the finance office to allow timely compliance. Be added there, and that it's kind of a two-way street where it's not just the finance director, the town manager, it's also the trustee of public funds and also the cemetery commission leadership that needs to work to get this done.
yeah, I'm not sure we have oversight over those two organizations.
It would be a request. I don't think you can direct them to do anything specific.
Yeah.
But I think it is, as Barry mentioned, it's kind of incumbent that
Of course.
information gets quickly supplied and then move forward with this version.
We have some raised hands. I'm guessing not from the cemetery committee.
Cheryl Lindbergh, I'm going to speak as town treasurer because there's involved, from looking at the memo that was submitted, there's some misunderstandings in this memo. And I think it's important for the select board to understand that these are elected officials who would be handling these funds. As the treasurer, I am the signer on cemetery commission checks, just like I am the select board checks. As trustees of public funds are separately elected, I'm no longer a trustee. Those are the two signers. They're here tonight to speak on their own behalf. But I think what's important is to understand the fact of how the current cemetery commission works, and there is no change to their getting an appropriation. That is not a correct statement in that memo. The banking, again, is under my control, and those dollars would be something that I would work with the finance office to have access to for the work that they would do, which is to pay the bills. So the cemetery commission would submit warrants, just like you do, to the treasurer for payment. The cemetery commission currently sends me a warrant, and I handwrite those checks out. This process existed long ago in the finance office, and it was stopped when, well, I'll be specific, Rod Francis and Fielding Ascensa were the town manager and the finance director, and they refused to do any more cemetery work. So it stopped and it came back to me, and I manually process all of their requests for payments. I worked with Barry a lot and the cemetery commissioners to get the 1099s done, the W-2, the W-9s, the certificates of insurance. So much of that is already in her hands, and they don't vary from year to year much on their vendors. So there's much less of that to be concerned about. How you assess a cemetery would be a new step, but it could be a land value mostly. So I don't think it's as complicated as it may sound in this memo, and that there's an involvement by the treasurer that isn't clear. But again, I just want to reiterate that The cemetery commission checking accounts would be, would be something I would work with Barry on, and the certificates of deposit are under my charge as treasurer. And then the appropriation, there is no budget needed. They do their own thing. So the cemetery appropriation would still be something that's paid. So.
I have a question.
Yes, Mary.
Oh, Cheryl?
Sure.
In your view, is this transition able to be done fairly quickly? Like, by July 1st, or is that a unreasonable deadline? Like, if we're trying to put a timeframe
Right,
around this, what
right.
would your recommendation be?
Well, I think things could start as of July 1st in terms of getting the balances from the bank statements going. You can just, so I would suggest, but this would be.
I might ask other opinions too.
Right.
I want to hear
Yeah,
your.
but I would open an
Your
entity,
judgment.
I would open an entity up in the general ledger, and I would call it Trustees of Public Funds. They do have their own tax ID number, separate from the town. I don't know if the auditor is recommending that that be changed. That's one thing I don't know. But in our general ledger in Nemrick, you can open up another entity and then maintain it through going in that entity versus the town entity. Maybe you do the cemetery commissioner entity. So there's ways to start it as of July 1st at any point. And I think it will trail a little bit. There'll be some changeover steps that need to be accomplished, but
So
I
do you
think
think
it
a
can be.
month? Like
Yeah, I
August?
think, well, you always have complications, right? You've got the tax bills to get ready to go out, but
Right.
they don't mail those anymore. They shift that off to a vendor to prepare all the tax bills and mail them. So that's a big load off the finance
Maybe
offices.
Mid-July, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a topic to continue to work on, but they are elected officials who would provide the finance office with a warrant, and they would put that through and they would sign it, and then I would get those checks printed to me, and I would sign those, and it would be a very similar process like it is right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it used to be that way.
Okay, so is there anything in this motion you think needs to be changed or modified, or it sounds?
I didn't see the motion. I listened as carefully as I could.
Pretty good. Well, you're reading it now.
So this is the trustees of public funds you're first speaking of.
Yes.
Yeah, but we're essentially doing the same thing.
We
The same kind of thing. The trustees, again, there's the memo, as Barry's memo states, there are no assets other than money with the trustees, so that's a
It's a
more
similar
simple.
one.
It's not a
Yeah,
big,
it's cemetery.
so that's the cemetery down here. So you made the motion, Mary, for 6?
Yes.
While you're reading that, I'm going to take a comment from John
This is
Master.
actually a question for the treasurer, but I'll let her.
Actually, Brennan, I'm worried about with audio visual. Could you come to the table so we pick you up on the recording?
I can't really.
All right.
We have another owl that could be used for.
What we could do is put these,
You're just saying no.
I can.
if we leave 2 discs here and string this one over there,
Yeah, that's
probably good enough.
I can speak up.
Probably close enough. And then Mary, just don't. I mean, sorry.
Thank you, Matt.
So, I think that it's the trustees of public funds that need to work with the finance office and town manager, of course. That is important because the finance office reports to the town manager to bring this under general ledger procedures. So again, it's, seems like a easy enough motion. I don't know that I would suggest any changes, but I just want you to recall, like, you are all elected. These are elected officials looking to have their work handled, and there'll be ways to communicate that.
So we're looking for a time frame based on the question from the town manager. So this sounds like it's not as complicated because, as you say, it's money. It's been
The
invested.
trustees one is.
The trustees one. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that could have a shorter time frame.
And if the finance office would be willing to set it up as a new entity with that tax ID number, which they've got on all the banking, I'm very familiar with, that would be a better way to handle than commingling it into the general fund and the town stuff. Now, the cemetery can, and yet could be an entity.
Can I ask a follow-up? You said that it used to be set up the correct way?
It used to be set up, yes, during a period of
Or,
time.
I'm sorry,
where-
the way that the auditor has recommended.
Yes, it used to be that way for
set up
cemetery.
For cemetery. So I imagine that if it was set up the way the auditor recommended previously, that a lot of this information already exists that they're looking for. Is that?
We have a template.
Yeah, you had this
Use that
information at
word.
one point, right?
Like you can inactivate all the cemetery commission accounts, right? In the
Yeah.
general ledger, you just go into the chart of accounts and inactivate them. Then they're off your chart of accounts. You can go back in and activate them again
Right.
and now make them. But, you know, if I were doing this, I would open up an entity to try to make it more smooth for you all, because the cemetery commissioners are elected and they have the warrants and they have the need for the checks, not you all. So if there were no cemetery commissioners, by the way, then it would be your job to maintain the cemeteries. So that would be one more task, and that would just be a different spin, but
Death and taxes.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So I do have a question.
Oh, sorry.
So in the scenario with the cemetery commission where you were saying you would sign off on their warrants, their
No, I
checks.
wouldn't sign the warrants, I would sign their checks.
So the warrants, if they are brought into the town's books,
Finance.
are going to come to the select board.
No, they would go to the cemetery commissioners who were elected to operate the cemeteries. So they would stay on as the authorizers of the bills.
I think I'd like to talk to our finance department about how that will work. But my understanding would be if they're under the town's purview and we're spending money out of these accounts, the APs would come through the select board like any other AP. I guess I'm unclear why that would be different if we make this change.
Why it would be different is because despite bringing the financial monitoring of the cemetery commissioners' finances into that office, the cemetery commissioners are the elected officials who request payments to be made and would sign off on a warrant for those payments to be generated for the treasurer to sign the checks. So it's just a similar process.
How is this, is this different than, let's say, the listers are elected officials?
The Conservation
And
Commission.
the town clerk is an elected official. But we wind up approving the AP warrants for checks that go out that pay for stuff in their departments. How is this different?
How is it different? Well, so I would say that the listers and the town clerk should be considered departments of the town, whereas I don't know whether the cemetery section of a town is really part of the town. So you've got all your departments, and that's where the clerk falls in under and has statutory authority, and the listers, again, are a department of the town because we do the work for the town. This group is doing work for cemeteries, and it's not something that is your responsibility. So that's the way I would interpret it, but you've asked me and I've given my answer.
So another example might be our Conservation Commission, because I think that is set up where if they have a request, it comes through us. I mean,
Right, but-
they decide what's proper.
They're not elected, right? They're appointed by the select board, so they're a creature of the select board. So rightfully, they're under the town.
I'm fairly certain that cemeteries just have a different legal status than almost anything else. And the people who run the cemeteries enjoy a special place that no one else gets to. So they retain responsibilities no matter where the money is being held. That's my understanding. I've come up against this a couple of other times. Cemeteries are weird.
So my only suggestion to any of this is to keep it as a separate entity. Then you set up the process identical to town, but you have it as a cemetery entity, and you can, at the end of a year, bring everything together for the auditors, which is part of what the goal is. The auditors, they can just get it all from the finance office where it's managed, but with two different elected
I want to
officials.
keep moving along here.
Yep.
I don't think getting into the weeds here is going to make a difference, but I could be wrong.
Well, I guess my only concern would be, so the autonomy of the cemetery commission and then the responsibility of the town finance office to oversee that and of the select board to oversee the finances of the town. So I think maybe this is a question for our auditor to say, we're looking to make this change. How would this work? Would it be incumbent on the select board to start making the warrant AP approvals, or does that remain with the separate entity that is the cemetery commission? And that might just be useful for us to know going forward.
And I just will respond quickly to say in there, it says they're not currently under general ledger control. And when you understand that, you're thinking of a software package with a general ledger, balance sheet, income, revenues, and expenditures. Currently, the trustees manually process everything and do their annual report and stuff manually. I do the cemetery commission stuff and give it to them, and they do it manually. This would bring everything into a computerized process and have everybody utilizing the finance office for the work they are handling as elected officials. So if you look again at what the auditor wrote, they're not currently under general ledger control. They're compiled from summary data. So I think that was the goal of this.
So I have one more question. I have to know some of this before I can vote on this. It's more complicated than I thought. But if a new entity was created with a new tax ID, would that mean the town is like a pass-through?
No, so again, it's probably difficult. The general ledger module allows you to have different entities. So one entity we have is the town of Norwich. You would start a separate entity called the Cemetery Commission. Then you would set a separate entity called the Trustees of Public Funds. Again, the cemetery commissioners use the same tax ID number as the town, but the trustees have a different tax ID number.
They have a different one.
So it doesn't really complicate anything. I think they're saying to maintain these funds in their general ledger separately and implement reconciliation procedures for all key accounts on a regular basis. So in the general ledger separately, I think is the key phrase.
Yeah, with the tax ID being separate.
Just for the trustees.
Yeah.
But they can speak to what their processes
Right, okay.
could be.
So quite simply, we're trying to do what the auditors recommended. And so what we're trying to do is authorize the people that we can authorize to start moving towards that. And that's the town manager and the finance office.
That's correct.
And if for whatever reason the elected officials, aren't helpful in this, then we can figure out other ways to get it done. But I expect everybody is going to work well together.
And I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that this is what it should always be like in a town, working together, so that you're kind of computerized processes that are manual.
Right, and maybe we'll get our audit sooner rather than later. Because
I can't.
We don't know that.
You're in favor of this?
Pardon?
You're in favor?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Town manager is in favor of this. We have another public comment.
Me. Pam Smith, trustee of public funds. I'm a little taken aback by a statement that we might not be cooperative. We requested this. Why wouldn't we be cooperative?
Okay,
So,
I don't remember saying
Well,
that.
the town manager said that they would need us to be helpful and cooperative. Of course, we're going to be helpful and cooperative. We've requested that this happen. So I just want to assure this board that we're very much in favor of this, and we've asked that it be done. It doesn't have to, July 1 is not a drop dead deadline, Mary. It's just that as of July 1, this has to be under the control of the finance office. But if it doesn't, I mean, they're going to be busy pulling things together for the audit. So we'll work it in with them
As you can.
as they have time. But, you know, it's not, we're going to give them the information of where we are in July 1 and then put it in their books whenever they can, whenever they have time. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Pam.
Any other comments? Nobody out there? Nobody out there? Quick, let's vote. We ready to move this
I
forward?
think so.
Let's vote. All right. So that was moved by Layton, seconded by Sweat. Klassen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
here,
Yes.
Sweat,
Yes.
and Griggs is a yes. Terrific. Great conversation. Item 7, Cemetery Commission request and wording, replacing public funds with Cemetery Commission. Would anyone like to move this?
I move to authorize the town manager and the director of the finance office to perform actions necessary to bring the cemetery commission fund under general ledger control while maintaining these funds in the general ledger separately and implementing reconciliation procedures for all key accounts on a regular basis, following the recommendations of Sullivan Powers and Company in the June 30th, 2025 audit report.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on this? No? Anyone? No? Let's vote. Klassen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Sweat,
Yes.
and Griggs a yes. Terrific. Thank you for that. We're on to number 8, Finance Committee update. Discussion only. You've all read the many excellent pages of Finance Committee update. The discussion here that wants to be had. Mary.
I do think that, you know, it did mention relationship building, which I had mentioned as chair. I don't know why, you know, in some ways to read the finance committee suggestions is a little exhausting because they're, you know, they really want to help in a very comprehensive way. But I also think that issues like, well, what do we do? How do we define our surplus? And what should we use it for? And should we have policy around that? How do we explain it to the public? Those are really good questions, okay? And I appreciate those questions, and I do think the public would appreciate those being more clear, right? So I see the need, but it's sort of like, how do you get there? Kind of, because it seems like there's still, whether it's a thing of when you have extra people around, you can't get anything done. Like you're just trying to cook a banquet and someone comes in and wants to know everything about how you're setting it up, you know, something like that. There's still some kind of disconnect there. So, but I do think the question of surplus would be a good one to have clarity on, to policy about, to communicate well, because that has been just an issue that we've really tussled with before. So that's my opinion, which probably doesn't help anything, but that's where I'm at.
Is it, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is it usual to have a surplus on a recurring basis, like every year? Or are there periodically deficits?
Well, you don't want to have a deficit because there's a penalty for that.
Yeah.
But generally, there's a pretty healthy surplus, not always. And so then it's like, well, what, and you do, if there is a surplus, the voters have to, you know, decide what to do with it, but then the select board can frame what they can decide. You know, they can sort of say, well, it'd be really great to throw some towards Tracy Hall or something like that. We can kind of recommend. So, but it's just a topic where we've really tussled a lot.
the topic of having a finance committee or what their
No.
charge is? Or
No. Well, I mean, there's there plenty to talk about with the finance committee, but I think as far as a requested task, something that the finance committee would like to work on, I think the idea of the surplus questions and also communication about them, to me, would be a fine topic for them to work on. So it's just that, that aspect of this. Their, 30-page submission, there's plenty to talk about here.
Yes.
And part of it also, maybe the more important part is the structure, so that, because it sounds like there's a go-ahead from the school board, we'd really like to get the finance committee going again. And so we need to, in order to enable that, we'd have to have sort of joint appointments. But I don't think that would be that hard to set up. And I also don't think that would be a hard sell with anybody here.
Yeah.
I think that we could, clear the way for that, and probably should do soon. But I don't think we're going to be able to deal with every single thing that is suggested here.
Well, maybe not. I mean, we're just discussing tonight.
Right.
When I joined the board, I was surprised to find that a committee, I won't call it the finance committee or any other committee, but a committee was uniquely limited. All our other committees kind of do what they want to do. They go out, they investigate, they do research, they decide what their tasks are. They have regular meetings and they explore whatever it is that they're interested in, and then take some actions and come back to us. And the finance committee is limited specifically by us, which seems odd. A group of interested people who are volunteering their time, a genuine interest in how the town works and how it might work better. I don't feel qualified to give them directions. It's not my, it's not a weakness of mine, but it's certainly not what I focus on. So I wonder why we are giving them a specific set of limited tasks rather than just saying, let's do what you can do. Yeah, Mary.
I think I probably helped put the brakes on.
Well, that's fine.
In limiting it, because it just felt like we were really getting bogged down. And part of it was this, this tangling about the surplus. I think part of it was having, issues like Cheryl Treasurer was bringing up about the cemetery commission suddenly being cut off by the former town manager and finance director. There's a lot of kind of pushing and pulling and maybe almost, I want to say turf wars, but something wasn't working. And thinking about it in retrospect, maybe it would be better to have more eyes, rather than saying, okay, they're all kind of tangling with each other and not getting along and not getting their stuff done. What if you add more eyes? What if you add people to it? And this is the opposite of me trying to put the brakes on it, but let's have some more eyes on this, because it should be according to policy, and the policy should be clear and understandable. So I've I think the brakes are sort of like, I don't think we can deal with this right now, but I do think as probably a better policy decision, to get the finance committee in. I don't think you can overwhelm the entire system by doing every single thing they want to do. But I think certain key parts, like setting it up so that it's smoother for them to work with the school board and to have the back on the Dresden committee, I think that's a real easy one we could do. I also think this idea of the surplus is a very sensitive one with the town. And it's a very kind of highly charged topic. It's what are we spending the money on? What are the taxes going to be? What are the priorities? And, we have had for years a citizen who pushed for a very strong police department. Okay, years of that. And now I'm seeing in this, that police department is a large expense. So suddenly maybe it's like, wow, that's a big chunk. Do we want that for, our tax liability? So it's extremely emotional. I think it's the most emotional committee in the entire town. as far as, because, it's people's money, it's people's taxes, and it's the services that they get. And are they happy with them and are of the proper scale? So,
They are advisory, so they're just,
yeah, but I'm thinking, as I said, you said, why that seems so restrictive? And I think I was probably key in putting the brakes on that. Like the comparative study, which I think is useful, but it's also kind of like not really it.
Yeah.
It's not really the meat of perhaps what we need. On the other hand, if, the committee gets in there and the finance department can't do their work and the town manager can't do his work and all the little cogs of machinery that help to make everything go get bogged down, that's not good either. So it's got to be some kind of balance and sensitivity there, some boundaries, as I think it was mentioned that Barry threw up some boundaries, or, both town manager and Barry, they've got to be able to get their work done. So
sure. Yeah.
I've talked enough, time for someone else.
Robert?
One of the problems we had in the past was, and I think continues to a certain extent, is that the select board has a responsibility for setting the budget. And with information from the departments. And we are then sort of recognizing the fact that we take the brunt of criticism or audits, but mostly criticism for what we come up with as budget. And because of that, has been in the past a hesitancy to take direction from outside entities, the finance committee, if there was a perception that it wasn't what the select board wanted or was feeling had to be done. And so, but there have in the past been extreme pushback from the finance committee saying, you have to set it at this percentage point. If you do anything more than that, you're being not good shepherds of the budget for the town. So anyways, that's one of the things that has to be worked out with. I can imagine that's one of the reasons for setting limits on tasks and authority and so on. But better communication and earlier supplying of information from departments in the budget process, getting that all done earlier makes it less of a race to the finish. I can't listen to you, I have to just make my own decision up. But so communication is, I think, key to improving that relationship.
Okay. You had your hand up.
I was just going to make a comment. Mary, you were talking about the voting for this use of surplus, and that has actually changed. I don't know if people are familiar with that. We have Act 57 that was passed a year ago, July 1st last year, and that now gives municipalities a lot more flexibility about what they can do with surplus funds. So just something for folks to be aware of. I would also, it came up when you were speaking about the like the tasks of the other committees. I just wanted to mention, I think we spent a lot of time in the last year and a half, like going through all of the committees, right, and reviewing all of the statements of purpose for those, approving those. Like that was a lot of the work that we did in the last year. So, it's not like they're just out there picking things to do, and they have to be related in some way to the basic tasks that they've been selected to do.
Oh, of course. And the same would be true of the finance committee. They wouldn't be all making energy recommendations, for example, but well, never mind. But,
Yeah, I think, well, certainly as the most junior select board member here and the one with the least experience with financial management in a municipal authority, I would relish input from a team such as this, particularly item 10, assist the select board, ... And all the assistance would be gratefully acknowledged and received from my own personal perspective. These are pretty established professionals in their fields.
Yeah.
They're not just interested in it as volunteers. They have a boatload of experience, and I think we can only benefit. If it's advisory, that's great. That's like the cream on the cake. But I'm very impressed with this submission. Although it's 30 pages, it's very well laid out, and I think it's great.
Hand raised, it's losing blood quickly.
Carol, Norwich. I think this is a very healthy conversation and a lot of really useful, different perspectives here. I think I'd like to begin by just saying I was pretty impressed by the document that the Finance Committee produced. I'm a bit of a data wonk, so I like that sort of stuff. I would just want to comment that it might be useful to study the income wealth of towns and compare us, since we have the highest per capita income in the state. To compare us to Heartland doesn't tell you very much. Nor do I think it's necessary that we be comparing to towns that we've driven through in the last 5 days. Take a look at Shelburne. Take a look at other wealthy towns in this state and bring their data to bear, because that's the context within which this town works. It's a wealthy town. Per capita spending, I would venture, is probably very high here, municipal spending. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm guessing it is. But it would be useful to say, well, how does it compare to Putney, which is a pretty wealthy town, and to Charlotte, and to Shelburne? So that might be more useful. The second thing I would love to see is you were given last year data on what was spent for highways in Heartland, what was spent for highways in Woodstock. That doesn't tell you very much. Maybe if you were to tell us what are we spending per mile of highway, then we've got some equalized data. Because if we're spending $38 maintenance per mile and they're spending $54, well, we've got a lot to feel probably excited about. If it's the other way around, I think we need to pose a question to the town manager. Why are we spending X dollars more per mile of roadway than another town? There may be perfectly good reasons for it, but normalizing data or equalizing it so that it reflects units, what's the typical taxes paid per household, that sort of thing. I don't know what the term for doing that is, but it's something I'm sure that people on the commission, our committee, are very good at. I guess a final thought, and this goes to the question of the tension that you spoke of. Let me just say, I think tension is normal and healthy in public policy. This ain't supposed to be simple. Think about the legislative process. This is a legislative process, right? You are the legislators. That's the nearest thing you have to a governor. He's the chief of operations, right? And we don't have a judiciary system, but there is, at the state level, there's tension between the legislature, who's appropriating money, and the administration that's spending the money. And I have seen this board in many times in the past say, well, it's budget time. Mr. Town Manager, tell us what you want. That has really got to be about the craziest approach imaginable. You people are responsible to the taxpayers for spending their money judiciously. And it's not unreasonable that you should sort of say, well, look, cost of living is going up like this, going like that. So let's start with a 3% increase, Mr. Town Manager. That should be your target. Come back to us with a proposal to do 3%. And then say, and if that's impossible, show us why and where we need to do more than 3%. You need to provide policy guidance to the budgeting process. This passive, just handing it over to the town manager is frankly irresponsible. No one does it that way in a legislative setting. And finally, I just would like to make, it's a helpful observation. the Finance Committee is a creature, if you will, of the Select Board. It won't exist but for your determination to create it. And so it answers to you. Now, you have policy and executive authority with regard to the town manager, but within limits, of course, not operational supervision or anything like that, but general policy guidance. You absolutely clearly, statute's very clear that he works under the supervision and approval of the Select Board. I think it's very important that any of your entities, like the Finance Committee, not in any way appear to be giving direction to the town manager. Certainly, the Finance Committee can have discussions with town employees, but only really, frankly, with the permission of the town manager. I mean, he's responsible for them. And if there's something that the committee feels ought to be different in the way that the town conducts its affairs, that should come to you. And they should make a recommendation to you that such a change be made. And if you think it has merit, then you make that recommendation to the town manager and you guys have your conversation. All I'm getting at is it seems like there have been tensions in the past between the Finance Committee and the town manager. And I don't know what has caused those tensions, none of our business, but if to any extent the Finance Committee has tried to provide direction or guidance to the town manager, I would suggest to you that that's off limits. It needs to come from you, and they need to relay that to you. So it comes from those very well-informed people to you, their suggestions. You do with it what you think is appropriate, and if you think changes should be made on their recommendation, then you are the people to speak with the town manager. So it's just a procedural process, who has authority to speak to whom kind of thing, that sometimes I get the sense has gotten a little confused. Thank you for.
Thank you. Well, I think that's good feedback. My own sense is that some of the tension comes when people on the committee would like more information than they might be entitled to. And they're eager to get the information, but we can't give them access to the books, which is what they would love, because that's it's like a waterfall of information. It's easy and they can mess with it and stuff and we can't give them access to the books. So what information can we give them access to easily that satisfies their desire to understand what's happening? That's complicated. I mean, I think that's complicated in any organization. So I think that may be the source of some tension, but Matt.
So when we first started talking about having a finance committee or the revitalization of the finance committee last year, I went out and talked. I called Shelburne actually, and they have a very healthy finance committee in the way that it works with the town, and it's actually really I'm not even sure they have it. They might have a treasurer, but the treasurer is not part of the finance committee. The finance committee works closely with the finance department head and is very supportive in kind of the way that the planning committee here really supports the workings of the planning department. And that's an example of a really good functional finance committee where they might, and Shelburne has a lot more industry, a lot more commercial based too, but so they're dealing with different money. But so the select board or the finance director can talk to the finance committee and say, explore this option. How do we finance this? How do we, pay for these? Is this a good, capital plan for police cars or whatever? There are other places like Woodstock that use it as ad hoc, like they want to figure a specific thing out. They talk to the finance committee and send them on a mission to kind of dig in. And so I think, and there are plenty of places that actually it was a little bit hard to find towns that are as small as ours that, I think that we were talking about comparing apples to apples. very difficult. I would just like to say that I think some people have said that the report that the Finance Committee put together trying to compare towns, some people felt like that wasn't a great assignment. I actually feel like it was a really good assignment. And because it forms a foundation that we can compare things to. And it's never going to be, it's by no means is it perfect, but it helps me to jump back and forth when they're talking about things and then see which town is kind of close to ours, which kind of isn't, and how that town itself differs from us. So I appreciate the effort and time that they put into putting together that report. And I see that as being, I'm going to reflect on that a lot when we get more information. I would like to have this set up in a way that that the school board sees this as an appropriately set up committee, so then they can work well with the school board. And I think we're really close to that. And if reappointing the committee's members is the way to go, that seems fair.
Or changing the charge.
Or changing the charge or whatever it is. Like we kind of messed that up to begin, like we overstepped our boundaries there, and we can reset things. And that's probably something to do sooner rather than later. And then I like the menu of things that they can work on, and we could consider discussing this at another time and maybe charging them with, figuring out the town credit card and credit exposure and like the things that you were talking about. I spoke with the previous town manager and was shocked at how somewhat flexible it is. Like we almost always have the town always has a surplus pretty much. And it depends on how you're defining surplus. If we're waiting for certain reimbursements to come in and stuff like that, then it doesn't look like a surplus. But truly, I don't think we ever outspend the budget that we created. And so to figure out ways that we can work with the upcoming surpluses would be a nice thing to investigate.
So would the next step be to ask the Finance Committee to make a list of actionable items we could make into motions, or what?
I almost feel like that's what they gave us.
Yeah.
And so completed work and outstanding matters, they gave us a lot of suggestions. I wanted to give this submission its its credit. It deserves a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
I think, but they put in a lot of effort. I think they made a lot of good suggestions. I'd like to figure out sort of the best tasking going forward.
I'd like to take responsibility for carrying this to a motion at some point, or
A motion for another meeting.
I think so. I mean, there is a lot to think about, and there
Right.
may be other discussions to be had.
Well, I think we might be able to take action on the school part of it. Change the charge, I don't know. I think that would be relatively simple and timely. It could be just get it out of the way if we all agreed that's a good idea. Sounds like Matt and I do.
Just the school board.
But that piece, I think, would be worth moving on quickly, because I think it'd be relatively simple to change.
Right. And I'd hate to think that it's standing in the way of them working more smoothly with the school.
Exactly. So I guess we'd have to see the charge and how it was set up. I mean, it's sort of, they're almost like bylaws of who, how you appoint people. Just go back to that section and amend it.
I see that Stephen's here. Stephen's Finance Committee Chair is on Zoom. Can we ask him a question?
Stephen, are you listening?
Raise your hand.
Oh my gosh, there's action.
His microphone is open.
So I was curious where you stand with the school board as far as actions that we could take. If reappointing is what they want, then have you talked about kind of what shape that might take?
Not on the specifics. I think the three actions that need to happen for us to be able to work with the school board is one, adjust the charge to reference the school board and joint appointments. Two, Garrett would still like to see a revised memorandum of understanding, which I'm happy to draft with him and submit to you guys. And then three, whatever the method is to jointly appoint us or appoint and ratify would then have to happen. And then I think we would be good to go there.
Could you say the third one again, please, Stephen?
To jointly appoint or reappoint or appoint and ratify the members. The school board just wants to give approval to the members of the finance committee also.
Okay, so that would be after we adjusted the charge, you'd go through the actual actions of appointing jointly, is what you're saying?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, and I'm happy to discuss with Garrett his preferred mechanism for that.
Sounds good. Could you put together, suggested wording for sort of that would satisfy the school board in the adjusted charge, the revised MOU? I think you did just say you'd put that to, at least put a draft together and see how they'd like to handle joint appointment or ratifying.
Yep. Yeah, I'm happy to discuss that with Garrett and give another submission.
Sounds great. That'd be very helpful.
Sure.
Akima, you'd like someone to be a point person on the board to shepherd this through in future meetings? What was your question?
Well, I think it might be helpful to have somebody, I'm happy to do it.
I'd be happy if you want to.
So you'd be a liaison with Stephen?
Yeah.
Brendan?
Yep.
That sounds pretty smooth to me.
That sounds good. Stephen, liaison with Brendan
Yep, happy to.
To bring this stuff forward for the board to act on in a future meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Other items like the surplus, I don't know how others feel about it, but it's not probably, it's more involved. It involves policy. So just coming up with a slick motion won't quite do it.
What's our usual surplus annually as a percentage of our budget?
Oh my goodness.
Does it jump around? Is it like 15% or is it 3%?
Range that's suggested by, I believe, by the state.
Yeah. And if you're outside the range, you're in trouble.
Well, I'm saying you're maybe not doing it right. And my recollection from 2022 was 12 to 16% at the upper end.
Let's stay on task here,
Okay.
though. I think these are
Anyways, yeah.
questions, but maybe not related to moving ahead with the finance committee. Shall we wait for feedback from you for maybe next meeting? Sure. And push this further along? Is that, or do people feel a need to act right now?
I don't think there's any more actionable items other than sort of this housekeeping
Okay,
stuff right now.
all right.
And I would just like to put out that the reason that in the past, we've had finance committees in Norwich that haven't worked out well. And it has not always been a tension between a finance committee. I think John was mentioning between the town manager and a finance committee, but it's also been that the finance committee and the select board at times have not worked well together. And so I think that is you asked why they have, why their charge has, that we have to kind of task them on something. And I think that was a response to it, to try to do this next version of the finance committee in a way that we kind of build up to the point that maybe Shelburne has, where it's very functional for everyone. Like it's an asset for the town manager to be able to say, how do we figure out this financing of our solar panels on the public safety building, and then give it to the finance committee and figure it out. Like that would be then it's a useful tool for everyone. However, trust has to be built over small iterations. So we need to be clear that we're not overwhelmed at a time where we're transitioning from one finance director to a new finance director, that we are defending the time of this new director to like get situated in a job and understand everything and not be overwhelmed by lots of requests and charges.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think that needs to be at the forefront
That's
of
another factor,
of our thinking, to give him time to settle into his job, because we've seen over the past, and I'll finish when I'm done in 1 second, but like, if you look back at the town's history with finance directors, it is horrible when we overburden them and they leave, and then we're in big trouble. So we should be building up, we should be nurturing the relationships as much as possible. We have a great team in place right now. We had a great team with Barry, and the transition will be great. But we need to set everyone up for success and be really cognizant about what we're doing.
Good.
Agreed.
Thank you, Matt.
Everybody on the same page.
Good.
All right.
Yeah.
Any necessary further discussion, or shall we move on to item 9? Let's move on to item 9. Who'd like to move?
I move to approve the expenditure of $4,000 from the EADR Fund number 52 to add 14 additional ash trees identified as hazardous to the Wilcox Tree Service contract.
I'll second. Sorry,
It's okay.
I like trees.
Me too. Fight for the trees.
That's why you cut them down.
That's right.
Are there any discussion? This seems pretty clear cut.
I'd just like to say, I've talked to several citizens who remarked at how incredibly efficient Wilcox Tree Service is at the work that they're doing. These were people who went up and down Beaver Meadow a lot. And even people from other towns have remarked on just how incredibly with it they've got it. From flagging to cutting to cleaning. That was kind of nice to get that input. So I'm glad
Yeah,
they're doing so good.
I would second that. I saw them working in Elm Street. They are so fast, so clean, and they're out there. They're gone. Like, it's fabulous.
It's pretty good. All right, let's vote. Klassen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
Gear,
Yeah.
Sweat,
Yes.
and Griggs is a yes. Terrific. Get those trees down. Citizen Assistant Fund request did not come with the correct departmental request. It was just a repeat of the ash borer fund. So I'm not sure how to act on this. This is an emergency? or
Yes,
can we-
this is timely. I'm looking at what I have here, and
The memo lays it out, though.
Yeah.
Like, and so even the request for spending is not correct. Yeah.
Request for spending.
well, I have the spending request here that's correct. That would be.
We could look at if we need to. I don't personally feel the need to. But
I think the memo, if I may, the memo, I think, speaks for itself. Again, another small allotment out of that fund, which seems to be regenerating now that the bottle redemption has been added into that. So that's positive. It doesn't seem like we're diminishing it. It's pretty much where we were a couple months ago with $1,200 more coming out. So yeah, if the board is so inclined, if you approve this, we'll get that moving as far as the payment.
maybe can we include that form in the next packet or
Yeah, I'm just going to check here.
to this packet?
Yeah, well, we can't add it to this packet, but we can certainly.
It was just a repeat of the Emerald Ash.
Yeah, it must have gotten just filed with the wrong. Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, why don't we, as we normally do, if it's something the board hasn't seen, we can put it in as correspondence, FYI, for the next meeting.
Okay. I think it can't hurt. Would anyone like to move this?
I move to approve the expenditure of $1,200 to provide financial assistance to a citizen in need identified by the town service officer.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think John does a great job. I'd just like to mention that, like his outreach and the way he works with people who are in need. I talked to him the other day about somehow putting up signage at the transfer station in front of the collection thing so that everybody knows that the money that they get from collecting cans like goes to this fund. I think this fund is not very well known. And I'm not sure everyone understands how the money from the bottle collection fills this fund. And I think my experience is that everyone that I know in Norwich or have met is always generous and supportive of people. And the more that they knew about this, the more people would actually sort their cans and like return them there, and we'd boost this fund. And John's kind of on that already. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know until I joined this board that that's where the funds are generated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people do.
It's great.
Whenever I'm at the dumpster there, the collection thing, and I see cans in there, I go, oh, no.
I feel better about it now. So.
All right, shall we vote?
Yeah.
Klassen?
Aye.
Layton?
Yes.
Gear?
Yes.
Sweat?
Yes.
Briggs? Yes. Terrific. Let's go on to Norwich Fire Department spending request, refurbished AEDs. Would you like to move this?
Move to approve the expenditure of $6,000 from Fund Number 26 to purchase 10 newly refurbished AEDs for the FAST Squad.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion here? No. Let's vote. Klassen?
Aye.
Layton?
Yes.
Yes.
Sweat?
Yes.
And Griggs is a yes. Norwich Fire Department request for VLCT-PACIF grant transfer. I'd like to move this. Pretty straightforward.
I move to approve moving a $1,500 reimbursement for a PACIF grant for the purchase of personal protective gear from the general fund to Fund 26.
Second.
Discussion.
Quick question.
Yes.
PACIF abbreviation?
It's like our insurance wing,
Yeah.
VLCT, our insurance, municipal insurance.
So they give
Okay.
grants to participating towns who are doing things to increase the safety of their workforce.
Okay.
Because in the end, they save money if we're safer.
Good. So it's an insurance buyout strategy.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's vote. Klassen?
Aye.
Layton?
Yes.
Gear?
Yes.
Sweat?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, number 18 requires us to, wait, 12, 13, we've got town manager report is next.
Thank you.
Over to you.
I'll be brief as always. I did want to point out on the finance department that we have made an offer for the assistant position that's been accepted. So in keeping with tradition, I will keep the name undisclosed until they begin work here, and that should be in mid-July. So I appreciated what Matt was saying there about our need to let the new transition and new staff get a feel for what the work is going to entail, and just be mindful that this is a big complex job, and we need to be very supportive to keep people happy. I will also mention that Barry and Jonathan went up and actually met with Sullivan and Powers last week and just did kind of an introduction, which I think was very positive as far as what we're expecting for the audit. Also, they came away with that feeling like we should expect the audit much earlier than we did in the past.
That was my question.
Yeah, so that was a hot topic of discussion, and I don't think we can hold them to a date, but I'm thinking in November possibly we would have the audit result, which would be really nice for everybody's planning. Speaking of planning, that's our next department in line here. I know Stephen is really busy right now talking with folks about new building permits at this time of year. The Village Master Plan Group had their first meeting and I believe their second meeting last night here in the multipurpose room. And apparently that went really well and good group of people, according to Stephen, with a lot of ideas. And that pedestrian scoping study that we had approved was successfully submitted. So we won't hear back on that for a couple months, but it's everything has been done on the town side to get that in. Moving down to the Department of Public Works, the Moorlane Bridge membrane paving and guardrail project has been completed at this point. If anyone is out that way, you will see a nicely paved bridge area with a very pronounced white stripe demarcating the pedestrian area of the bridge crossing. New guardrails look really nice. We did have Clean Harbors come back out and do another clean of the abutments. We have new ledger boards, new absorbents in place, and they put a fresh coat of paint over everything. So again, we know that there is some water that's still moving through the structure, but we have been keeping an eye on that. There doesn't seem to be any contaminant associated with the water. So I think we'll all cross our fingers and hope that this has been a good and successful mitigation. As you may have mentioned, may have noticed, the street sweeping and the some of the crosswalks in the village and kind of important crosswalks out of town have been restriped here in the last 2 weeks. So we got fresh paint on those for the summer when people are out and about. And I had mentioned the Route 132 culvert project, which has gotten bumped back a little bit, but we're almost in July and they're looking to kick that off here shortly. From the fire department, Chief Northern just wanted me to mention that a new dry hydrant that is being sourced from the Connecticut River has, after I think longer than expected process due to some permitting issues, is now operational. So that's great news. On the rec department side, I just wanted to call out Bree specifically for putting together with a day's notice a ice cream and popsicle handout to celebrate the last day of school there a couple weeks ago. So the library, which has historically done that, I guess had a staffing issue that they couldn't accommodate the kids, and we had staff, and Bree got all of the good things to eat out there for kids. Lily just wanted to mention that the credit card processing is now operational in the clerk's office. If you walk by, you'll see the little electronic machine there, and she and Megan are preparing for the August 11th primary election. And then from the town manager side, I wanted just, I guess, to mention we just approved some additional money for Wilcox Tree Service, and sounds like they are doing a really nice job there. In the AP warrant, we have our first payment to them this week for the first like 2 weeks of their work, and they're going to be back, it sounds like, the week of July 6th to continue. My suspicion is they're going to be able to wrap up the rest of that work in the next mobilization. So we should be done with that initial phase here for the summer. We had a successful paper shred day. Got rid of 147 banker boxes out of the Tracy Hall, mostly out of the attic, just papers that had been left up there for decades in some cases, and from the public safety building as well. I met, Chris Kaufman and I met with some residents on Main Street that are having a ongoing water issue, which I'm sure everyone has noticed if you've driven that way. We are working with them and their contractor to try to come up with a solution to keep that water off the sidewalk and off the street. I realize it is annoying for everybody that goes down that way. And this is a situation we actually had last year, if you remember, and it's kind of an act of nature, which immediately stopped in like the first week of July. Just the water was gone, it dried up. So that may or may not happen again this year, but they are diligently working to remediate the problem. I did have a chance to follow up on the opioid fund conversation. And so I did have conversations there with our two entities and have gotten some feedback. I think both of them would be very, very qualified to accept the donation and would meet the reporting standards that we had talked about. So depending on how we want to handle that at a future meeting, either first meeting of July or second meeting of July, I could certainly put a memo together, or we could even invite them to come if you wanted to ask questions. But they were both very pleased that we had reached out as kind of community members in the Upper Valley to support their important work. So we don't have to make a decision on that unless people would like to have that on the next agenda as a memo with some recommendations from me, or again, it could be the second meeting in July.
That hurt.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Want to do it on the 10th?
Sure.
Okay, good. And some recent complaints about road conditions, most of them stemming from a feeling that we have larger gravel stone that's been put onto the roadways during grading operations. And I think there's at least a letter, maybe two letters in correspondence. So we did investigate that and have really verified with Pike Industries, which is the vendor who we got our rock from in this current iteration. It is the same size rock we've always used, and it's used in multiple other towns in the Upper Valley. Our neighboring towns are using the same material. So I don't really have a good explanation for why the perception is that suddenly these stones are bigger. As I understood the screening process, I mean, it is a 3/4 inch minus stone that we order, and it can, based on the angle and the size or the length and width of a stone, you know, things get through the screen that are going to be larger than 3/4 inches in some cases. The other, again, theory was that because of some of the really hard rains that we've been having, especially right after the stones have been put down, the smaller aggregate is just getting washed out immediately, leaving the bigger stones, and it appears like that's all there is, when in fact, you know, that's just the stuff that was harder to move by the rain that we've been having. So just, again, nothing to really do about that at this point. We you know, have the correct stone being deployed onto the roadways at this point.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I think this was Camel Flats, or the person that.
Ann Sargent, Campbell
Yeah,
Flats.
I think she's out of Camel Flats. Like, did you and Chris go out there and check it out? Okay.
I did not. Chris.
Okay. But he looked at it, and I mean, I've received loads for our driveway, and sometimes it's just what they get in the scoop.
Yeah.
And it's not great. But it kind of is what it is. It's not through, you know, not doing it correctly. It's just like you get the occasional load that's a bit more rocky, or it washes off.
Well, again, it is the same size stone we've always ordered, and the same stone that's deployed again in other towns. So it's not like a Norwich specific issue right now. So we had some outreach as we got closer to the end of the fiscal year. We were a little concerned that the reimbursement, at least the major part of our reimbursement, had not been received yet. So I'm happy to announce we got a little under $800,000 last week from FEMA. That's the bulk of what we're expecting. There's going to be some more smaller things that will come in next fiscal year, but that is a positive. And then I also had a nice conversation with Harry Falconer and Ari Latanzi, I think is how her name is pronounced. She's a staff member at Two Rivers. This is related to the direction we got at the last meeting about two things. One, Harry had, I guess, been tasked with kind of coming up with updates to the Article 36 task force recommendations. So he's going to work on that, and I'm going to meet with them next week, and we may want to bring a memo or even Harry back to a future meeting to talk about, is this what you had envisioned, because the motion was a little vague about exactly what we were tasking him to do. So I think it might make sense to take that step and then have the board review kind of his ideas and make sure everybody's on the same page there. And then we're also with Ari going to be working on the update to the fuel usage, kind of the greenhouse gas emissions that was done earlier in the Article 36 report. So I have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with department heads that have vehicles and buildings that are using fuel to start working on that. So my guess is we're trying to gather information through the end of June to start it kind of ended at the fiscal year. So we won't have it, I would think, in July, but I would think in August, we might have that ready to come back with some more detail there. And then Jenny, there's you again. I just wanted to thank you. You've been one of the longer serving minute takers and have done a really great job during your tenure, and we appreciate that. And sorry. And the very last, we had a question about the outside water spigot on the south side of Tracy Hall. I did confirm with Ben, who's been here almost 30 years, that has not worked in his tenure. So it wasn't like that is a new problem or something that was recently working that now hasn't been. It's been a long, long time. So
We look into adding a spigot possibly?
well, that might be a thought for the Tracy Hall working group would be, is that something we want to incorporate into a future project? I mean, I think it's possible to do internal plumbing that could get water to that side, but it's going to be costly. It's not going to be a simple project.
Maybe just go out front through the machine room. Just pop it out front near the front door.
I don't know that it's that simple, Chemo. It could be, but I'm not qualified to know.
We're not looking into that, it sounds like. Okay.
Okay.
So can I just make a couple of comments?
Is that?
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks, Brennan.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Yep.
you had a comment.
So as a crossing guard, I'd like to extend my appreciation to DPW for the street sweeping and the crosswalk striping. Yes. The kids are thrilled.
So good.
It's like, they're blown away. So thanks for that. That's great.
Even I was happy for a little.
Yeah, I know. It just helps us do our job. That was the other thing. The property on Main Street with the water emanation. I think we've set probably a town record because I know that the chair, the vice chair, Selectman Sweat, town manager, and DPW director have all attended on site at this property to ponder the proper prognosis. And I think official engagement in a town resident's query is a good thing. I don't know whether we can maintain that standard, but
Well, it's an interesting thing.
I'm done.
And the stories seem to change. But
Mr. Chair, can I
yeah,
make a
yes.
comment?
Yep.
So Jan Lasper, speaking as the chair of the Planning Commission, I just wanted to piggyback on the Planning Department's report to point out and remind people that the interim ordinance for short-term rentals is still active and not completed yet. And the next step, as I put in a memo to you a little while ago, is for the select board to hold a second public hearing and then be ready to vote on that. We added the fire chief's recommended changes, and we also wanted to be clear with the public about that very important question about pre-existing rentals, owner occupied and non-owner occupied, and how they would be handled. So I would just urge that to be put into the agenda setting machine and be able to get that resolved sometime in the next couple of meetings.
All right.
Can I just add, when we do warn it, if we can make sure that it gets into the packet this time, that would be awesome.
Right.
the wording
You
of
want-
it. I think last time, it was probably in the planning packet and it was by request, but it wasn't in the select board packet.
Okay, you want the wording of the entire ordinance in the select board packet for the hearing?
Yeah, I think that would be easiest.
Yep,
Can't hurt.
no problem. Thank
Use
you.
those electrons. Thank you, Jan. Anything else? We have a public comment.
Thank you. Cheryl Lindbergh, resident. I just, going back to the spigot, my recollection when Carol Loveland spoke to the board about it was that the Women's Club would find some money in a grant or something to get that fixed. And there's two, I think, aren't there two spigots out there?
There are, but there's
One on this side and one.
Neither one of those have worked.
This one works.
This one's worked.
So there's two that work. The problem is that they're at the 2 points that aren't as useful as that one.
Okay.
So where they're trying.
I looked into lightweight hose, which also might be a way to do it, because I think that their issue was the weight of the hose.
Yeah, and the distance.
And the distance of, affects how much hose they have to move. So I looked into some lightweight stuff that I was going to try out for.
I wondered if we couldn't have that and have a way to roll up the hose and leave it there so that they're just.
They have a reel.
They do.
use.
Yeah, sure, tractable hose, it just shrinks down to nothing too.
But it is
Okay, that was my.
Thanks.
Do we have extra agenda items coming at the end?
Extra agenda.
We have discussion of,
Like for next time?
yeah, we have discussion
Yeah,
of number
discussion,
22.
that's
Because
number
can you
22.
remind me, I might put something about the faucet thing on later on.
Okay, sure. All right, so we've done town administrator department reports. 16, I did not have time to put anything into the packet, so we could either skip over it or I can introduce, I guess I'd like to introduce a little bit of discussion about why I would propose to allow real-time access to packet materials. Yeah.
Did we do 15? We skipped department reports again.
Well, I assumed that those were probably
Okay.
yours because you had mentioned Bree.
No, it's up to you. I know at the last meeting, we didn't.
Yeah, I know we probably all read them and they seem complete and good. Is there are there high points you'd like to mention?
No, I just want to, a lot of effort goes into that. I just want to make sure we acknowledge that they've been submitted and reviewed.
Matt, have you been spraying water out of the new dry?
Yeah, these are actually my pictures.
I wondered.
But it is, I would say one thing, they also regraded the whole bank along that side. And so it's a much nicer, it's a nice spot. And people put in kayaks and paddleboards and stuff like that down there. And the whole project made it better. And it was slowed down by striped mussels, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, they're endangered and we had to be very careful.
oh,
We had to keep an eye out for them.
I have a question about that dry hydrant, if I may.
yes, please.
Is it conceived of as mostly for refilling tankers and stuff?
It's for, yes, if we were to do a tanker shuttle and we needed a reliable water source, we would go down there, there would be an engine there that would fill tankers and the tankers would take water wherever they were needed. And mainly, like, we could do that in the good weather, we could do that there by just putting something into the water. But in the winter now, we would be able to use it, without question. That's a good spot.
And does this all help take the place of filling things up using town hydrants?
Yes.
So that's sort of.
It helps, it's redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps us
Interesting.
do it in different ways.
Okay. Any other comments on department reports? Seem very complete and nice to see. Thanks for mentioning.
Did you use a polarizer?
Are we ready to move on to 16? I have noticed when I'm setting agendas on a Wednesday that I haven't seen anything in the packet. So it's been my feeling for a while. I know we discussed it last year and it seemed difficult, but I have to wonder if there isn't a way for us to see things as they come in. I've spoken to Britta briefly about it, and it doesn't seem, I mean, she turns things into PDFs, she puts them in a file folder, and eventually they get combined into one long one that goes in the packet. But since they're already being turned into PDFs and put in a file folder, it doesn't seem like a big leap to make that file folder accessible so that we can see it and the public can see it as things come in. My thought is that we can be more responsive. For example, if something comes in on a Monday, I would know about it on a Wednesday when I'm setting an agenda. Town manager's office already knows about these things and they put it on a list that these documents exist, but I don't get to see them before they come out to all of us because we're not allowed to see them before the public does. So if we see them in real time, the public can also see them in real time. I don't see a danger personally there. Maybe there is one, but my sense is that things come in and they stay there and then they get added together to make the packet. So the sooner we can see it, the easier it is to respond quickly and possibly get something on an agenda that week rather than seeing it, saying, oh, let's get it on agenda the following meeting. So you potentially are waiting 3 or 4 weeks to get something on an agenda. Maybe you could just wait a week. So cut down the time, shorten responses. I don't know. Personally, I feel like I'd be more up to date with what people are feeling and be able to respond to it before people get frustrated or, anyway, that was my thought in that, making a proposal. I haven't actually made a proposal here, but I would like to make a proposal for the next meeting. But I wondered what other people's thoughts were on this, whether it makes a difference. Mary?
Generally, I think there's sense in what you're saying, you know, as far as staying caught up and responding in a timely way. Sometimes it's good to let things sit, you know, just to be the devil's advocate, to sit a little bit and you think about it. It's like, well, because then you sort of see it perhaps in a larger context. So.
But how do you let it sit if you can't see it?
Well, you'd see it, as you say, just in correspondence, right? I mean, eventually you see it. So, but I get what you're saying. I just also think that people can get pretty fired up. So are you going to be sort of jumping on the things that come in? You know,
I think you'd have that option, or you'd have an option to just say it came in as correspondence.
Right.
I don't think you'd be under any obligation
It's
to.
probably fine. It's probably fine.
Well, it's also, I mean, you can try it, you know, if there were problems.
Try it out and see.
Change it back, but
Do townsfolk assume that it goes to the select board if it's that email address? Or do they know that it doesn't? Or it's delayed?
I can speak to the procedure, but please correct me if I'm wrong. The procedure is laid out pretty well at this point. On the website, it tells you that whatever you send to selectboard@norwich.vt.us, you know, gets put into the packet and when the packets are compiled and all that, and that we don't see it until it's in the packet. When they receive it here, when the town manager's office receives it, they have a template email that they also send back to the sender saying, we've received your correspondence, it'll be included in, you know, this upcoming packet. And so people know that it doesn't go directly to us. Is that generally?
That's correct.
It's not an automated process.
No.
But from what I understand, Miranda and Britta, you know, tag team it, and one of them gets it out super quick. But to your point, when we have had people that have emailed us you know, a memo and CC'd the select board address as well to get it in there because that's open. I often appreciate getting it as soon as possible because it gives you more time to think about the topic. And it might be a topic that I just want to percolate on for a long time, and that's totally fine. But like, I like the idea of it. I'd like to know if it creates, you know, what kind of admin burden it creates to have an open folder, but you know, that seems, we have it for the legal stuff anyways. So, and I've also found that to be helpful.
The only area I would be concerned about would be if individuals responded to something. An individual select board member responded to something that should be viewed and considered by the select board at large.
That's a danger already. And when the packet comes out, this is really just drip feeding the packet rather than getting all at once. Either way, that's a danger.
It's a risk, yeah. But is it more likely? But it's worth trying.
Well, the other thing too is I've had email submissions that have not been copied to the select board. Just straight from town residents, straight to me. They pull my email off the website.
Oh, and they send it directly to you.
Yeah.
And so then we don't see it because it doesn't go in the packet unless somehow
Correct.
forwarded along.
So how do we fix
But
that?
that's an appropriate communication. That's me as the town person connecting directly to a specific select board member. You know, that seems normal
fine.
politics.
Yeah.
And maybe you could, if there are ones that you think are especially pertinent, you could ask that person, hey, you know, you make a good point. Could I forward this along to our packet so that all my members can read it?
Yeah, I get those sometimes. Sometimes people actually don't want to be in the packet. They just want to register there and.
And sometimes they send it to Chemo and to me, and we don't know until we compare notes.
Right, BCC, and you don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't
Okay,
know.
so doesn't sound like there's an objection to my trying to write up a proposal, and we'll see what happens. Yes.
Just to clarify, so the idea would be that we would create some kind of a Dropbox where correspondence goes, where if someone on the select board wanted to view what's in the correspondence folder, they could access that. Are you also suggesting that that would be public, so anyone from the public would be able to view that folder?
That would be required. We can't view it if the public can't view it.
So we would, I think we would just post it on the website somehow. I mean, would there be a reason to have a Dropbox if it's not being protected from anything?
That'd be easier.
Have to be read-only, obviously.
Well, I think, let me make a proposal, because it might be that you want to have some sort of hurdle to jump over to get into it. But I think probably just as the public.
Well, you know,
And that's the case now. When we put out a packet, anybody in the world can look at the packet. So we're just really opening it up a few days earlier.
but where do we apply the triage that's in our rules and procedures? No response, delegated response, agenda item.
I think the same way we do now.
Okay, so that doesn't change.
That needs to be done in public. I mean, we don't always do anything, but it should be when we're all convened.
Yes.
What actually, during receipt of correspondence, probably at least the initial.
I think one of my main goals would be to see what's coming in before, if anything comes in before the agenda is being set. I'd love to see what that is. And it might even encourage people to send things in earlier rather than later, knowing that we will see it before the agenda gets set. You know, it's probably something we could put on the website. If you get it in by noon on Wednesday, then we might be able to respond quickly. And that,
Maybe noon on Tuesday.
yeah, or something like that. But, you know, if somebody has something urgent and you can respond quickly,
That's a good point.
that can only be good, I think. Okay, well, I will write that up. The other thing I mentioned, one day or a couple of days, I guess, I walked in and I just noticed that when you walk into Tracy Hall and you want to see somebody or something, and it's a little opaque, right? I mean, it's mostly closed doors and hallway, and people aren't always there. And there's no information in the building to tell you how to get hold of somebody. Now, it's on the website, but as you know, reception down here is not great. So if you're in there and you've got something you want to do and you look at your phone, you can't get the website, you're on I thought maybe we could have a contact list in the hallway listing, people and their positions and their phone numbers and how to get hold of them. It seems sort of like a normal thing. I think, yes.
Would that be, the contact would be call the town phone number, extension, something, or are we talking emails and cell phones, and how granular would that list be? I just can't imagine that in a public space.
How come?
I don't know. Where else do you see that in a public space?
You see office numbers, you see office, extensions. And if that's what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Whatever floor,
second floor left, extension 120.
Yeah.
It sounded as if you might be saying, oh, we'll put your home phone number and cell phone on there.
No, I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying some information, because right now you come in and there's nothing.
Yeah.
So could we have something? Seems like.
Is it kind of more wayfinding? Find the office? I know you need to find the person, not the physical office, but.
I walk into a building that's supposed to be my public service building, and there's no information anywhere about how to get hold of anybody.
So it's pretty
I might have a bleeding person on the sidewalk, I might have a road complaint, I might have a stuck car, I might have, I don't know what, but just thought.
It's difficult because there's no foyer.
Well, no, there's a foyer upstairs. You walk up the stairs and.
It is sort of
difficult. There's a sign on the left-hand side that says offices and what floor they're on next to the elevator. You could put something there.
Okay.
I just wanted to get a sense of this.
Could you find
I
that?
think Brendan, he wanted to know what the rest of the select board thought before.
Because you've got to know to go upstairs to see that sign, as opposed to going downstairs.
I didn't think it was that complicated. All I know is when you walk in this building,
There's nothing there.
it's a mystery.
I agree with
I agree.
that.
And
So what's our task?
well, I just thought maybe we could put some signage up that would sort of make it less of a mystery, so that people in the town could get the information they might have come in to get. If the door is open, they can go in and get it. But if the door is closed, if it's after hours, or somebody's taking a break, or then there on the walls, call this number or send this email. I mean, it's on the website already, right? So it's not like we're giving out private information.
But if you already know how to access a website, you just do that. It's just odd. I agree with you when you walk in. It's like, welcome to our stairs, It's like not welcoming.
Not everybody can access the website. And particularly here in the middle of Norwich, a lot of people don't get cell reception. So they can't access the website, even if they do have a cell phone. And if you're in a hurry, the last thing you think is, oh gosh, I'll go to the Norwich website, Why not just have it there? So,
Is there any problem with calling it a directory and putting it up?
I don't have a problem with that.
So it's,
I mean, I'm trying to remember what is out there. Is there when you walk in, does it say, town manager's office is on the first floor, planning is on the second floor, town clerk is on the in the basement? Okay, it says that, right?
I'll be right there.
Okay. And does it have the general town phone number so that if some of these if people are working remotely on that day, that you could call the town phone number and then essentially get connected to whoever you need to?
I don't remember seeing any of that, but.
I think I can answer this. So right now, Rob will, I think, confirm.
He's got to take.
So all it says is the office and the floor. So if you're coming in and you notice that there's a a sign there and you want to go to the planning office or the rec office, you say, okay, they're on the 3rd floor, and you either get in the elevator or walk up the stairs. Town manager, 2nd floor, clerk and finance, 1st floor. So people can find the offices. I think what Chemo is suggesting is that that gets embellished to have like the names of the people with a phone number, so that someone would be able to say, well, I wanted to go to the planning office, but nobody was there, the door was closed, but I know that Stephen True is our planning director, and I have his email now, so I can email him something or call that number. Am I correct, Chemo? That's your vision?
Or something like that, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's not hard to do. Like, if the board feels like.
There's a pretty big sign there now. But I had to go back.
Where the elevator is, you mean?
Yeah, on the landing as you come in the main door. But if you open the door, it's a left-hand door, for instance, you wouldn't see it. So it would be maybe more detail in a more visible location.
I mean, that likely place would be in the hallway, but then it maybe defeats the purpose, because then you must have had to wander around to get to the hallway, right? Like.
Well, if we think this is a good idea, I'm sure I can come up with make a proposal.
Yeah, I think I'd work on
Brandon,
some
felt
kind of
free to
proposal.
hear from you.
I don't think it can hurt. I don't usually go to buildings and expect to get contact phone numbers and emails for people working in them. Usually I'll just hit the website, but it probably is underneath that category of like, can't hurt.
We should have some like rotating light show around it, people's attention.
Digital board.
I mean, I think we should limit that to the office number and the extension, right? I mean, I don't feel like we want to give out
Too fancy.
cell phones. Emails, I guess, could be fine. I think.
Town emails,
Yeah,
I mean, if the information's available on the website, I don't see why you wouldn't put it on a sign.
It could get cluttered.
Okay, but what I'm trying to do is allow someone who comes into this building to get in touch with people easily. Take the information, maybe go over to Danowitz and make a phone call if they don't have a phone. Not everybody has a cell phone.
So you would say town phone number, like phone number and extension.
Yeah, I can make a proposal.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for detail, I'm just asking a general idea.
Can't hurt.
I mentioned it, and Brandon wanted to get the rest of the board's ideas, and so it sounds like I can make a proposal and we can.
Sure.
Okay, I'll do that. Great, let's move on to town manager goals. Thank you, Matt, for your input. Thank you, Brennan, for yours. I think I'm personally kind of, my effort to discuss goals always seems to come back to the form, which is, not trying to stay away from discussing how we assess performance each other. I was just trying to set goals, just like your goals. That's what it says in the contract, is we set goals. Expectations. It doesn't say we evaluate. That's the second step. So I was hoping we'd set goals, and we'd have goals and job description to use to put the evaluation together. But there seems to be resistance to just setting goals in a straight, like without the form. Am I correct in that? Everybody seems to want the form. So we're not going to set goals. We're going to set the evaluation using some goals and some job description, I guess. Because not everything in that form is a goal. It's a description of what the job is, and whether you did that well or not isn't really I mean, if your goal is to do what's in your job description well, in my terms, that's not a goal. That's just judging how well you've done your job, but nothing wrong with that. Like, it's great, you want to evaluate that. But the first part of that is to set goals. So, yes.
Could you give an example of that? I think we just think really differently. And maybe it's just from being a teacher, because, when I set a goal for a student, I want to be able to measure it at the end to see whether it's happened or not. So to me, the evaluation and the goals are very closely entwined. So I just need to understand, could you give an example of a goal?
A goal might be to develop a critical understanding of town infrastructure.
Okay, so broad.
Well, yeah, it could be broad. I mean, it could be a small goal, goal to find benefits for employees in the town. Maybe look into how to provide benefits for employees in the town. That's not in the job description exactly, but that could be a goal. And under that goal, there could be all kinds of things, raises and comfortable chairs and better working environment, music, dancing. I don't know. There are all kinds of things that you could use to judge whether that goal has been achieved or not. Generally, it's just a list. I should have included, I asked the person from Two Rivers if he went through a goal setting exercise. Oh, yeah. And he says, you can share this. And he just sent me a list of like 10 goals. And it's not evaluation. Some of those goals were used in his evaluation, but his evaluation covered, communications and working with other people and all those aren't goals. Those are things that you evaluate in addition to some of the goals. This is not working.
When I read your, the thing that you most recently sent out about, that was your sort of outline of the town manager goals, like, I thought it was well organized and I liked everything that was written there. And I thought that it would be very hard, and I kind of agreed with it all. But then I took the next step into how would I then evaluate whether he achieved those stated goals, and because they lacked, or they didn't have as much specificity that I needed to say, yes, you accomplished this, or yes, or you didn't. And so that's why I kind of took your overall, your 1 through 4 goals, but actually I just took 3 of them and used them as sort of headings here. But then I put in performance objectives that would kind of be like, oh, okay, goal is management, improve the management performance and benefits of the human resources in Norwich.
Yeah.
Now we need to attach as the board, we needed to attach real specific things, or not even that. Some of them weren't that terribly specific, but were somewhat specific, and other of them were very specific, that if he did those things because they were things that we think are important to do, then he would have accomplished that larger sort of goal of good management.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not the best way to do it, but it seemed to be a way to do it.
Yeah, so I think I never expected goal setting to be very difficult or take very long. Mm-hmm. And I've always from the beginning said, you set goals, now we set goals, now we move on to the next step, which is evaluation. Mm-hmm. And evaluation includes a whole bunch of other stuff, including some of the goals, but not all of the goals probably. So we're just setting goals here, mm-hmm. right? And then we determine how you evaluate. And evaluation includes all of the other things. So that is the way the contract is written. And that's what I thought we could do. Just what are your goals? What are your goals in life? What are your goals? I'd like to learn French. Well, how do you determine whether you've learned French or not? That would be, I understand what you're saying, that you think about these things together. And yes, we have to do that. But you don't have to think about them together just in order to establish some goals. And the goals can be something that you don't get evaluated on. Some of them are just things you Hope to have them, but it's actually not part of your, most of them you probably evaluate.
So in your model, where do we insert the things where we say to Brennan, we think it's really important for you to fix the roof? Like where does, or something like that is where do we insert SMART goals, right? So in your model, the SMART goals are the easiest things for both us to evaluate and for him to, understand what we're asking him to do. Where in your model do we put SMART goals?
Well, I suppose you determine that once you moved on to evaluation. So you can leave goal setting behind. Goals are like
Aspirations?
Yeah, they're aspirational. What are your goals?
Mm-hmm.
What are your goals? It should be, I think it's like a 5.
But then we also have to, okay, so that.
Yeah, once you say, oh, okay, those are my goals, great.
It's what you're aiming to
Next
do.
meeting, let's start evaluation. And some of those goals will probably include an evaluation, and some of them just may remain like, yeah, those are extra things. Most of them will probably work their way in. But there's a lot of other stuff that goes into evaluation. Not everything in an evaluation is a goal. Some of it's just the work you do.
Yeah, I agree with that, because especially with that, because I feel like there's, we're evaluating job performance and how he's done, just in general, how he meets up with the job description. Is he fulfilling the description of the job?
Yeah.
And that's where sort of there's some of these are job performance. They're not what I would call goals.
Yeah.
And then the other ones are more specific, the SMART goals, where it gives both sides, definition for what we're expecting. It also lets us, kind of rely on that he's going to try to accomplish this specific task that we're giving him.
Yeah. But I think goals are a way, I think our town manager has asked for us to help him do his job better. And goals are one way that we can help someone do their job better by saying, well, you have these goals, we're 3 months in, how do you feel you're doing with that, right? Like you're doing all this stuff which is necessary, but you have these goals like you're working on that you think would be good for the town or good for the people, good for your employees. Do you feel like you're able to meet those goals? Or is there anything we can do that would help you meet those goals? Or the reason those goals can't be achieved in the way you thought, right? But you're not necessarily judging them based on that. That's just something they want to do. That's the way they are. That's who they are as a person.
Whenever there's that discussion of goal setting for someone else, it locks into my thinking evaluation and judgment. That one doesn't correctly exist as something that's considered in job performance without having something that can be evaluated and a judgment passed as to whether or not those goals are achieved or moved in some way. And I heard just a little bit of, well, some things are real and finite, and we check, we give consideration to as far as, did somebody do that? Did the town manager do that? But others are just aspirational, and it'd be nice if that happened. Where do you draw the line? Where do you expressly say, we would like the town to be this? Can you work towards that? But we're not judging you as to how successful you are at that. Or are we?
I don't follow completely.
Well,
so you're saying you can't set goals?
No, I'm saying if you set a goal, you have to have some form of being able to evaluate the performing of that goal. And that would in some way affect your judgment on the performance of the staff member. And if it's expressly going to be a part of their performance evaluation, then there has to be those understandable areas where you can evaluate.
Sure, but that comes next. Some goals you can evaluate, some goals you wouldn't.
Okay, and how do you identify which one's going to be which and which is going to be applied
Do that
in
as you,
consideration?
so you do that after you set goals, and you have this list of things.
Right,
Now you say, well, we need a way to evaluate.
okay.
Is that a goal that we want to evaluate? Is that a goal we want to evaluate? Does that goal, some of them are aspirational.
Yeah,
Some of
well,
them are not. And you would decide during the, setting up your evaluation, which of those.
what I would see as really valid, if you're talking about town manager goals, since that's the topic, right? What I would see as very valuable is that select board goals for having the town move in this direction, and then the select board saying, how can we involve the town manager to get to those points? And take a responsibility for that direction on the board itself.
Sure.
So if we fail to set a reasonable goal and give some direction as to how we think that could be accomplished, if we don't do that, then we can't hold anybody responsible for that, whether or not that was accomplished.
Right. So if we have a goal that you
Other than ourselves.
share with the manager,
Manager, yeah,
that is setting a goal.
right.
So we've set a goal. We're not determining how it gets measured,
Right,
but we're sharing that goal with the town manager. So now we have set goals with the town manager.
right. But it
Which is
should,
what the job.
what I'd like to see it clarified is that that's a goal that we have set, and it's not incumbent on the town manager for being held responsible for fulfilling those goals. We would direct them to do the move in that direction, but the responsibility is for us to find the goals that are doable
Yes.
and then have a reasonable expectation of them happening. So for instance, I would like the town of Norwich to be a place where applications for positions rolled right in for any possible opening.
So that's a goal.
That's a goal, but how would I expect the town manager to overcome some of the reasons that that isn't true?
You'd work with them to do that.
Right.
But you may not make that part of your evaluation. It may just be a goal,
Right.
right? So there, you're describing a goal that we have set with the town manager, which is job number one, according to the contract. We work with the town manager to set goals. That's what it says.
Can I say something? Frustrated to hear. So I think the confusion here, and Chemo, you're trying to separate goals and performance objectives completely, I think. Maybe I'm misinterpreting, but you're looking at this big picture goals we do first, and then the secondary performance objectives. And in the section 6 of the contract, it says annually, the board and employees shall define such goals and performance objectives. They're one and the same in my mind. And I think we're getting tied up here with performance objectives that are being proposed as goals, or goals that don't have performance objectives that can be readily attained. And we've spent a lot of time on this over the last 3 months. So I wanted to say thank you to Matt. I had submitted my kind of updated version, trying to build those projects that we had for the last year into goals. I think Matt actually reformatted this in a way that makes it easier to work with, which is greatly appreciated. And he also has, in what was in the packet here submitted, very clear goals. You know, we have goal number 1, management improvement improve the management performance and benefits of human resources in Norwich. Like, to me, that is a broad goal. And then he has very specific performance objectives that are dictating how that can happen, that are reviewable. Like, that's the evaluation. So that was our goal. And the evaluation of my performance is, you had performance objectives to reach that goal. Did you attain did you perform those objectives well? Could you use improvement on that? If so, how could I improve on that? Like, that would be the meaningful growth in an evaluation that I see. So, I mean, we can spend hours and hours, I think, with just debating, how to get there. We have, absolutely. I would love to move forward with Matt's proposal. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it would be helpful to me to have something in place before July, or at least in the next meeting, perhaps. If the rest of the board can.
To give full credit to Chemo, the goals that I got were right from your sheet. And so I see that, I get what you're saying, the overall goal, and it makes a lot of sense to me.
So I should say, where I was heading with this, I realized you're not seeing this the way I see it. You asked me to explain, so I tried to explain.
I'm trying to understand.
So we're having this discussion, I'm trying to explain. But where I was headed was, I'm not going to convince you to simply set goals. And I think you would all like to set goals and objectives at the same time using this form. That is pretty clear that that's what you would like to do. So we should do that. That is my feeling.
That would be fine with
The
me.
form is one thing, it's a template with boxes in it, it's the content. So what are you referring to? Are you referring to the content or the template in and of itself?
I think Matt made a good faith effort to do something that the majority of the board is happy with. That's my sense.
Because you spiked the content, you added.
I did spike the content.
Sorry.
I added to it based on what I had heard. A bunch of it existed, and then I pulled from some of the the top 4 goals that Chemo had written, and then I heard, Rob's. I heard from Rob and from citizens, let's stop evaluating the energy stuff and just make action. And so, I added that as a performance objective there to underneath, improve the town and its infrastructure, and then I added my own little thing on improving, taking some steps forward with creating a packet for our capital spending plan, which kind of dials into our capital spending policy that was written in 2011 that we're supposed to do. And so I was just trying to take baby steps forward. And we'll see how it works. And I also put in a criteria of out of a scale of 5, because I feel like it's important to have it an odd number so that you can choose smack dab in the middle if you feel like the person's doing an average job.
I know when I took a stab at this, do you remember we all made our separate submissions and sent them to Chemo? And I hadn't done this for a while, and certainly hadn't done it in a municipal setting. So I tried to rely a lot on statute, which I think if you look at the town managers, it's the number, right? On the front of the document, it says 1231 or something. And that's the list of the town managers'
That's the
duties.
parameters.
Yeah, and there's about 13 subsections, I think, under that statute.
There's general powers and duties, particular additional duties of select board, contractual,
So,
personnel policy.
One of the-
That's a huge framework already.
yeah, but one of the big things, so I tried to cherry pick a few based on people's favorite wish lists. And I figured that Tracy Hall seemed to be a big ticket item for people. And I know we have, Brennan, how much do we have allocated for Tracy Hall, in the pot to spend?
Designated fund? Yeah, I think it's around 800.
I'm guessing it's just over 200. Okay.
It's a lot more than that. It's about 800.
So if I, Mr. Chairman, if I just may spend a little minute on this, and I'll try to keep within 2 minutes. So one of the sub-statutes in the town manager's goals is to, and this doesn't surprise anyone, to have charge and supervision of all public town buildings and repairs thereon, and all building undertaken by the town. So that's obviously construction, right? So I just thought this seemed relevant to exemplify Tracy Hall refurbishment and modernisation. And I put work with Select Board to cost estimate all proposed work and assign priorities based on 2026 budget figures. Also working in collaboration with the working group, which is a new thing, right? So whatever the working group may or may not recommend. And then I put initiate and complete competitive bidding process for activities including repair and remediation and modernisation and improvements. So 2 classes. Set start dates for all repair remediation work to commence in 4Q 2026 and assign projected start dates for modernisation and improvement, which is harder, in 2027. So sometime in 2027, not one quarter of another. Monitor progress of ongoing renovation project at the Norwich Grange. Leverage potential synergies regarding best practices that worked up the road that may be applicable to Tracy Hall and other town buildings. So I tried to put some metrics and some objectivity, like push the button and spend some money on Tracy Hall. And let's discuss what it is. New windows, new boiler, new roof, new chimney, take the chimney down, put something else in it, fix the elevator. There's a whole lot. We tend to cherry pick 13 slate tiles on the roof or the replacement propane boiler or the elevator. And there's no holistic view of what we want this thing to be, which the town manager could own.
Well, probably should not.
Not until I think that the work.
Own the execution of the work, not.
I think that's our job, and through the working group or other input. This vision is not his, but maintenance, I think, is. And the 11 shingles, if there's a leak,
Yeah.
and he hasn't taken care of it, then that's on him.
Yeah. but
Not
that's
having
a-
heat in the
11
building too.
With due respect, 11 or 12 shingles is a small task.
No, but it
It has consequences if it's not done.
Yeah.
but It's basically a small task.
It is, and it's not, I think it's more maintenance of the building and making sure it's working in its present form as well as it can, but it's not making him responsible for the vision for how it will be renovated.
No, but he implements our vision.
That's
what I'm saying.
as you said.
He sets the start dates for the work and he.
Well, it does that.
Based on what he's instructed by the working group or the select board.
Well, he does all that stuff anyway. I mean, he's always done that.
That's how
It's part of his job.
Evaluated based on, evaluated. Mayor.
I really appreciate the work that Matt has done, and I appreciate, Chemo, that you're possibly noticing that some of us are okay with that evaluation format. So I would like to actually adopt Matt's, framework. Maybe not with a motion tonight, because it's not in a motion
Let me
sheet.
make a motion for next meeting.
Yeah, because I think we also are going in circles on this. It's kind of driving me crazy.
Oh, well, I think we made it hasn't been straight probably, but I think the discussion has been
Productive,
more
yeah.
productive. than
Maybe,
I see.
maybe we don't need to spend a lot of additional time on it.
No, I think, let's everybody review Matt's thing.
Right.
Brandon, please review it and we're meant to be doing this together. So let's do it together. And if there are comments, maybe we could share them and adjust as necessary. Would that make sense?
And these, to be clear, so this framework is from between, last September and this September, right? The time frame. These are not the goals that we would set in September. We still have to think about them, correct?
We have to set new goals.
In September. So if we could get this framework in place to kind of cover the things that come up organically that need to be maybe we do a wish list for things that could get started. So that's what this is.
Yes.
But then in the meantime, to think about what the new goal should be,
Yeah.
right? And maybe we can kind of,
Is that how you
that.
envisioned it?
I envisioned this as a method to get us from here to September.
right,
So that we could
right.
sit
Just wanted to
down
be
with
clear.
Brennan and provide a reasonable evaluation that kind of allows us to reflect on what he did in the past year and maybe makes, constructive suggestions to how to improve things going forward. And then I think someone mentioned, maybe it was Chemo at the last meeting, if we're going to hit the ground running, we finish his evaluation in September, like we should do as much as we can now, between now and September, to like come up with his next year's worth of
Right.
goals. If we want to use this format, fine. If we want to change it to modify it to a different format, that's also fine. But I think that I think we're all in agreement that providing him with some sort of goals for a full year is the fair way to do it. And I would like to talk about, improving communications, whether it's like website or whatever it would be. Like those things those are ripe for discussion at this point.
Yeah. And that's what I really meant by goals.
Yeah.
A couple of things that.
Yeah, so we could, I think you might have suggested that we put as an agenda item on sort of like each meeting that we have, 15 minutes to discuss upcoming next year's goals.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable, then we'll be able to do it then.
All right, so I will try to make a proposal for next meeting to adopt this. And if you think it needs to be modified in certain ways, please let me know.
Thank you.
Yes?
I'll just, if we're going to come in and hope to like move something at the next meeting, which I think I'd love to see that happen. The only concern I had was with Matt's performance objective 3A, which is the capital plan. And my concern there is strictly based on timing. So I think that this is what we've talked about doing and can do pretty easily with some of the materials that we're going to put together for fiscal year 28 budget discussion, but I can't say that that's going to be ready by the middle of September. In fact, I think it's more likely that'll be ready by the middle of October. So that would be my only concern, is being held to a goal that I could tell you right now, timing wise, is probably not feasible with our current plan.
So that might be one that we decided to do in September, right?
Well,
It seems like a timing thing.
I mean, if that's something that's going to take a long time, and it's clear it's going to take a long time, and you're working on it, you could still meet expectations by having worked on it and pushed it along to a certain point. Nobody's saying that all these goals have to be completed.
Okay, well, as long as we're clear on the expectation, then that makes me feel a little more comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a bad idea to set a whole bunch of goals that are all completed on the same day, and then all of the goals start from there.
Well, it's an artificial deadline of.
It's going to be ongoing.
Yeah, and I think it was actually Pam, when I was talking to Pam Smith about goals, this was a completely side discussion, but I think it's worth noting that like there are plenty of goals that we could set that are worthy of setting that might take a year or 2 or 3 years to do. And like that, when she mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, of course there are, but I was not of that mindset. And so I think that this is one of those where, yeah, you're working towards it, but at least we put it on here as like, this is our goal, even though it's not going to be accomplished by September.
Okay, well, that's fair. I think, yeah, like the energy efficiency piece. So that's a multi-year, how do we work on that with incremental progress, I guess. And yeah, September 27th or 24th, whatever the day is, we can show progress, but we're not going to show, mission accomplished.
Right.
40% reduction in fossil fuel.
You ready to move on?
Sure.
Let's move on to item 18, liquor license renewals. Would anyone like to move number 18?
Do we have to reinvent ourselves to the other
Yes.
forum?
Yeah, so number 18.
I'm happy to do that. I move to recess the meeting of the Select Board at
9:17.
9:17 for the purpose of executing the duties of local liquor control commissioners under the authority 7 VSA section 167.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? No discussion. Good, let's vote. Clausen.
Aye.
Clayton.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Sweat.
Yes.
And Griggs. Would anyone like to move the applications for La Font Vert?
We have to set a time for when we adjourn.
Yes, I did, 9:17.
9:17.
Would anyone like to move to approve the applications?
I move to approve the application number 78381 by La Font Vert LLC for a first-class restaurant / bar license. Application number 78380 by La Font Vert LLC for an outside consumption permit. And application number 78382 by La Font Vert LLC for a third-class restaurant bar license.
I'll second.
Discussion. That was just mean to do to me.
Kimo said he wants to learn French. Maybe you could join.
Yeah, I'll be French.
No.
Who seconded?
I did, yeah.
Let's vote. Clausen.
Aye.
Clayton.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Sweat.
Yes.
Griggs, all right. Would someone like to move to close the Norwich?
I move to close the Norwich Liquor Commission session
9:19.
at 9:19 o'clock and reconvene the select board meeting.
Second.
Second.
Clausen.
Aye.
Clayton.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Sweat.
Yes.
And Griggs. Perfect. All right, moving right along.
This
The
one.
minutes, June 3rd and June 10th, 2026. Would anyone like to approve the minutes?
Or two-step.
I move to approve the minutes for June 3rd and June 10th, 2026 as presented.
Second?
Second.
Motion, comments? A vote, Clausen?
Discussion, right?
Discussion, I think you.
I just asked for discussion, but no, there was no discussion.
Oh, sorry. No, I did want to raise this as of earlier in the night. So there was the issue that John Carroll also raised about the June 3rd agenda when we didn't warn the executive session for item 4. And we went into executive session for 8:01 to 8:50. That was the OML complaint. So how do we deal with that? Just to get the paperwork squared.
I think we have to explain what we did, which I can do in the next packet.
So this is not about approving the minutes, but it's about an issue that came up or from the
Well, it's-
record of the meeting itself.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
So that is an issue. I agree it's an issue. I take responsibility for it. I probably forgot to, I put it in the first item and not the second item. I think in the second item, I was not originally thinking we'd go into executive session. So I didn't put it in there. And then it was felt that we should do that. So I can write a description and put it in the next packet, I guess. I don't think that changes the minutes. But it does point out that
No.
there was some. I'm sorry, John, you had a comment.
Thank you. I agree, it's a difficult question. If you approve the minutes as they are presented, then the record would show that you conducted a properly noticed executive session with regard to item 4. But as we all now understand, you did not do so. So it would seem to me that you need to amend the minutes or add a note to the minutes that simply says that with regard to item 4, it was subsequently recognized by the board that it had not properly entered into executive session with regard to item 4, and therefore the entire conduct and conclusions and any actions taken by the board in connection with item 4 are, I don't know if the word is illegal, but they're certainly not valid. They have no, those actions described have no standing because you conducted an illegal proceeding. So it's sort of know how to handle this.
So I was proposing that I write a note for the next packet describing this as an addendum to these minutes rather than putting it in now, so that we have something written. Do you see a problem with that?
Only that somebody could read these minutes as they are written and see nothing in them that indicates that the description of item 4 is quite incomplete. One would have to have the good fortune to see what it is you write subsequently. So I guess I'm just feeling like you ought to annotate this language in such a way as to make clear that although this is what you did, you now know that none of it has any legal standing with regard to item 4. And by the way, if you did, in fact, if you did, I have no way of knowing, direct the council's suggestion to do anything with regard to item 4, that decision would have no legal standing anymore. Then you would have to go into a subsequent proceeding to render that guidance or decision to be legal. So I'm sort of asking you, did you come to any conclusions or agreement with the town manager or the town council to take any action as a consequence of the discussion in item 4? And if you did, you have to notify whoever you reached an agreement about to say, sorry, we were not in a legal function and you are not directed to do that.
Understood. Okay, so town manager.
Can I make a quick comment? So I've been watching this and I think we have two different things going on here. So there's approving of the minutes, which are a factual written accounting of how the meeting proceeded. And then I believe Mr. Carroll is making an open meeting law violation claim, which is completely different than the minutes. And I think that they should be separated. Like if that is what Mr. Carroll is alleging, that has its own remedy, but it's not to try to amend minutes that are stating the facts of how the meeting transpired.
Yeah.
And from what you're trying to write out is essentially like the cure of what we did
Yeah.
by mistake. So you're like preemptively just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But there's two pieces here. One is the warning, and one is what was decided in the meeting. And as
I think the topic is that that it was not listed as a possible, that we might go into executive session, and we should have done that.
Yeah.
And that's correct, and we need to cure it.
But that's not related to the minutes.
Right, the minutes are technically what happened, and we've approached this issue several times before.
Yeah, so
And
one
it is
issue I
actually-
have with the minutes is that on the top of page 10, and I mentioned this earlier in this evening, it says here that Klassen shared that he had doubt the decisions were discussed and decided upon in a meeting. I guess it means the meeting. And despite it being a straw poll. And my concern, and I know, Rob, you mentioned something like, and Jenny quoted this, the straw poll you regarded as treading along the edges but outside of the area of concern. So my recollection was the straw poll was somewhat more definitive in resulting actionable items that came out of it, not limited to treading around the edges. And I'm just concerned that the minutes actively reflect what went on in the meeting to my recollection, and also faithfully recollect my concern that they are inaccurate as they stand.
Well, the minutes aren't inaccurate, and then this is what we said. So in that sense, the minutes are accurate.
Well, I would reiterate, and for the correction, Klassen shared that he had no doubt that decisions were discussed. The word no has been left out. Because I do have no doubt that decisions were discussed. And I don't really know how to make this point with
Without
more
discussing what
clarity.
went on in executive session. And
I'm not about to disclose the content.
Right. So I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just, there is a tension between discussing, like, we can't really discuss what went on in executive session out of executive session. And so that makes it tricky.
So a hypothetical that I've been thinking about to keep myself clear of violating executive session privilege, let alone attorney-client, blah, blah, blah. So my wife and I discussed allocating $2,500 for airfares to go to Stockholm via Germany or London. We've decided to allocate $2,500. We have decided to have a vacation in Sweden, supported by the mutual agreement to spend money. That's my hypothetical. That's a decision. When you agree to spend money, it's a decision. It's not a treading around the edges. It's a affirmative, intentional decision. Now, this is not revealing anything in the executive session. It's a hypothetical, which lawyers use all the time to keep their positions clean.
All right, so if we're going to go back to approving minutes, and minutes are a representation of what may have happened, what happened, even if what happened like wasn't the right way to do it. And it seems like these minutes are accurate, but how do we cure it?
I will write a cure.
And I think John's point is also, it might be beyond just approving like that these minutes represent what actually happened, but what we need to, like, the substance of what went on, is not admissible, or the words escape me, but it's that,
I think the way to do it is
okay.
the debate and the backwards and forwards and the to and fro, you and I arguing and Mary concurring with Rob, that's classified executive privilege information. But when we exit the session, ideally under advice from our law firm, which again was absent, we need clear, legally mandated instruction as to how to communicate the outcome to the public.
Yeah.
Not how we tortuously got there in an hour and 14 minutes, but what the final endpoint was. And that could be no action or case abandoned, whatever. Pick an outcome. But we need to give some public accountability to give credence to the whole thing under law. It's like, otherwise it's, as John points out, it's illegal, it's improper, it's not valid. That's my concern.
I think, looks like John still has his hand up.
John, yes, please.
Thank you. First of all, I want to applaud you. This is a very difficult discussion, and the town manager raised some good points as well. The minutes are, it appears to be, an accurate representation as the minutes as drafted by the Jenny Tolman do appear to be an accurate representation of what you said and what you did. And so in that sense, the minutes ought to be approved because they describe accurately what you said and what you did. I think the question that's sort of behind this and the kind of looming, really difficult thing to deal with is that maybe what you said by way of saying no decisions were made was what it felt like at the time, but maybe, and I can't know this, I'm only just sort of picking up on the shadows I'm hearing in this conversation, that maybe some decisions were made. I don't know that. It's purely a speculation on my part, but I'm just getting that vibe here. And if that is so, then you're faced with not a minutes problem, but if you will, a comportment problem or a communication or definitions problem. If for example, it is so that you reached some understanding of some sort about what should happen next, and if it is so that you said, yeah, please go ahead and do this or that or whatever it might have been, that amounts to an action. That amounts to a decision of the board meeting in executive session. And as you know, decisions of the board in executive session are prohibited by law. You can have conversations and you can reach consensus in executive session. It makes perfect sense that you might do kind of a nose count. Do we want to do this? Do we want to do that? I can easily imagine that the chair, I've done this myself in executive sessions, going around the room and just getting a sense, do we have a consensus on this? But the crucial missing step is that if let's just say that there is sort of a consensus about what we might do next, it is not an action that you can take in executive session. You have to come out of executive session and say, the board discussed this and that, and we think that we would like to consider a motion to do X, Y, Z. Would anybody make that motion, please? And one of you steps up and makes a motion. Well, the board feels that it should ask the town manager to do X, Y, Z, or ask Rob Gear to do X, Y, Z. And then you take a vote in public on that action. Because, as you know, I mean, I'm sure you know this, state law says that you may not take any action except in public. No action. And yet, it's very natural for there to be intended actions that come out of a long discussion. You talk for an hour and 15 minutes in the first case. So all I'm just trying to get at is that the process that you've used, if my speculation has any merit to it, and I have no way of knowing, if there was any action that came out of an hour and 15 minutes, that action had to be presented in public as a motion that one of you might make. There would be discussion. There would be an opportunity, just like any other motion that the board ever considers, an opportunity for the public to comment, and then a vote in public. So I guess bottom line for me is, I guess you should go ahead with approving the minutes, and I guess I would ask you to do some kind of navel gazing about whether you handled it all properly as you came out of the meeting.
Yeah, thank you. I think I know what to do. We've got a.
Can I comment? So I'm just looking here to refresh my memory. So the open meeting law violation requires that someone have a written complaint alleging that there was a violation of the open meeting law, identifying the specific public body involved, and requesting a specific cure for remedy of the violation. So I think if Mr. Carroll is concerned that a violation of open meeting law occurred, he should follow that state law process and make a formal complaint, which the board can then take up as a formal cure. Like, that would be, to me, the logical steps here. It certainly has nothing to do with approving the minutes, even though we spent a half an hour at least talking about it during that section of the agenda.
Sure, but I'd like to just say, I appreciate, I'm not sure we're at that point where he should do that. I actually like this open, I like the format of this discussion because it's a challenging topic that I think I can see from many different views, and I think that John has helped us, has contributed his view on this, and that his final statements of approve the minutes because that's what happened, and then think about it more, each one of us, how we think either going forward we could do better, or also how we could cure kind of the mistake that we made. And that an OML complaint is not necessary from him, because we've heard pretty much his entire thought on the process and appreciate it. And I will certainly go and try to, seek out more answers, or at least more opinions, so I can formulate my own.
Okay. I can write a synopsis of what I think we've discussed, what I think we should do, and you can all reflect on it. Does that sound reasonable?
Pretty good.
Yes?
Yeah.
Mary?
How does that come out? Like, do you send it to the packet? Like,
I'm going to send you guys a memo of what I think we could do from here to maybe correct some of.
Okay. In a way that doesn't.
Nobody can respond to it.
And like, it just gets so complicated. We're going to have to approve these minutes, and who knows what Jenny's going to write for this one. And
I guess I'm hesitant because I think the topic of discussion that Mr. Carroll's brought up is about an alleged open meeting law violation. So, I don't think it's fair I don't think you should write anything to cure something that has not been publicly called out in writing as a violation. But the navel gazing part is like, he's like, well, maybe he will or he will not submit a written notice of violation, but he's saying you really ought to think about it. So I think it'd be better if you didn't try to cure it before there's actually an allegation in writing of a violation.
Yes,
So I would say no.
I wasn't proposing curing it. I was proposing a strategy.
A strategy being a cure, a strategy being how can we do better going forward, or what?
I'm not quite sure yet. I think I have a sense.
See, that's getting tangled to me.
Okay.
And it's just because you asked why I had doubts.
Okay.
And so that's it. We don't have to go down.
Let's vote on the
Minutes.
A minute. Shall we? Classen?
Aye.
Clayton?
Yes.
Beer?
Yes.
Sweat?
Yes.
Greg says yes. All right. Moving on. Item 20, AP warrants. Anybody like to move those? Didn't see anything that,
Yes, I move to approve AP warrant number 1493 in the amount of $245,614.61 to be paid from the general fund. AP warrant number 1494 in the amount of $18,303.41 to be paid from the Tracy Hall Fund number 13. AP warrant number 1495 in the amount of $61,217.00 to be paid from the Emerald Ash Borer Fund number 52, and AP warrant number 1496 in the amount of $1,287.01 to be paid from the general fund.
Was there a correction for the Emerald Ash Borer?
Yeah.
It should be 00, not 9 cents.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
So the AP warrant was correct, the
Motion needed correction. Okay, thanks.
second?
Second.
Any discussion? No? Let's vote. Classen?
Yes, aye.
Clayton?
Yes.
Gear?
Yes.
Sweat?
Yes.
And Griggs is a yes. Next in the list is receipt of correspondence. Correspondence received from Ann Shriver Sargent and Lindsay Putnam, politely expressing concern about the quality of the stone applied during maintenance on Campbell Flat Road, with reflections on gravel placed on Hogback Road. She asked if a finer, well-graded surface material might be used for roads with mixed recreational use. I guess I wonder if others might agree our dirt road maintenance and conditions might be a suitable item for a future agenda. So been regular comments about the roads in Norwich Listserv, the Danwitz ice cream line, and maybe a chance to publicly express concerns, praise the road crews, reflect on past practices, question how changed weather conditions, material shortages change maintenance, and generally an open, healthy conversation about our roads. That seemed like something pursuing, or, I mean, I noticed my road's very different than it was when I was growing up. And I don't know whether that's because of changing road conditions or changing weather or just what, changing supplies. And I think a lot of people have noticed. I got flat tires last year from the gravel put down on my road. And, you know, it's expensive. So it's not like a non-issue, at least to me. I don't complain to the department about it or anything. I'm just curious. I mean, people have noticed the roads are different than they were. And would it be worth having an open discussion about that?
I don't know. I think no. I just think it would deepen the mystery and fan the flames.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep going with this. Is that okay? Or do you want to?
Sure. I think that I actually find that they're doing, I've seen the town, they just regraded Turnpike. I was incredibly thankful. In part of the regrading of Turnpike, they have to cut underneath the potholes in order to just not fill them in.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, they have to go deep enough that they wind up knocking a fair amount of larger stones to the top. And then when they regrade it, you wind up with large stones at the top and you get frustrated because you don't want to hit them.
Yeah.
But like a long-winded way of saying, I think it might be healthy for people to learn the challenges of maintaining an incredibly large amount of dirt roads and the materials that we choose to use and why we use them and how weather has changed in the ways that the roads react to that they just don't keep up as long because the volume of rain that we get and the frost heaves that we now get are really hard. And whenever I see our road crews out, I maintain 0.6 of a mile of private road, and I feel for them. And I think that having people who might be think that things aren't being as well maintained might be surprised to learn kind of the challenges and nuances of maintaining really long dirt roads. I like some of the other, I can go on, actually, I've noticed a lot of improvements at the way that they do things, but this is an appropriate time to do that. But I think it might be nice to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate kind of a lot of the things that they've added to how they've done our roads.
Yeah.
I'm a dirt road
Maybe people
aficionado.
understand better now.
The other thing is, I was up at Montpellier and I went to there was a VLCT advocacy day where people gave testimonials from towns to the joint transportation committee between the House of Representatives and the Senate. And what I learned was across the whole state on average, 83% of the expenditure for local roads comes from local budgets. So it's a fraction from the feds and from other grants. So it all comes out of our taxpayers' pockets. So it's a big ticket item.
Yeah.
And I think discussing it, getting it out there, pros and cons, good and bad, changes since you were a kid is a good thing because it's such a big ticket item.
Yeah. I just.
It's worth considering. It's worth considering, and I think they're doing a good job. And the more that I hear about the challenges that they have, the more kind of sympathy I have for the fact that it's very hard to keep things up.
Exactly. And the weather's ferocious.
Okay, so maybe I can propose it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Kent.
Did you circulate the warrants while you guys are wrapping up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You gotta sign them. Let's see, what else? Treasurer Cheryl Lindberg wrote to Selectboard with internal financial controls checklist for municipalities. We acknowledge receipt of the same as required by Vermont Statute 24 VSA subsection 872. Linwood Andrews, one of the two representatives from Norwich to the Connecticut River Joint Commission, wrote to inform us that following the July meeting, they'll be resigning to attend to other commitments. And that's it from correspondence. Would like to
Move to receive all correspondence.
voting, Clausen,
Aye.
Layton,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Sweat,
Yes.
and Griggs. One thing left to move.
I moved
Oh,
to,
well, actually, we had discussion of July 8th, 2026 Select Board agenda,
The 10th.
which we could do by email if you prefer.
But we mentioned several things tonight already. We had opioid, short-term rentals, public hearing, Harry Falconer, field tracking, possibly the faucet. So,
I think,
Fawcett?
so.
Yeah.
Maybe the faucets.
What was the second thing? Something tracking?
Fuel
Fuel
tracking.
tracking, Harry Falconer.
his draft memo, maybe.
And would you like to propose some specifics for the energy?
For Article 36, perhaps for
Yeah.
suggestions. But some of them, I'm assuming that Harry is working on evaluating,
Does these, I think.
so, general.
Yeah, I think it might make sense back again at that meeting with, here's what we've heard, you're looking for it. If you had any other comments or questions or objectives, then that could get added on maybe before doing it at the same time.
A specific presentable for what he might be able to do, or was it a discussion?
No, I think he knows what the motion was from the last.
He wants to do.
And I just want to mention the adoption of the short-term rental is going to require a notice period. So I doubt it would be right.
Would be ready.
Because you have to
Okay.
have a certain amount of time to warn those. So that might be the 24th if people are interested in getting that on the agenda.
On the 24th, why not the next?
Because of the notice period, you have to have a public notice. I don't think we're going to have enough time to do that.
Okay, so we'll put that on
22nd, I think.
22nd, yep, July 22nd. Okay.
Actually, Mr. Chair, can I add to Mary's faucet item?
That was really yours, I was taking notice, but I think it was your idea with the faucet solutions or something. I was just noting down what you were saying.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
sorry, great. Our faucet.
Well, okay.
So I was wondering, one of the concerns is these 70 to 80-year-old women, love them to bits, they're dragging hoses across the road, negotiating traffic, the weight. Is there a possibility to run an underground pipe, so bore under the road? I think it's town road, not state road.
It's state.
Stay right.
That's state?
Yeah,
That's right.
it's Route 5.
It's complicated.
Okay, let's assume we can get permission. Bore underneath, put up a small frost-proof riser, and they can have a faucet on the aisle.
Well, that's the thing for an agenda item, I think.
Yeah, that's for the agenda item.
Right. Boring is interesting, it can be done, but it might mess up your drawing, Tracy. Why not, though? I mean, there could be some creative solutions.
I'm just sort of wondering, like,
Stage a tank of water for them, something like
the
that.
Women's Club have done so much for this town over 100 and something years, I forget.
Oh, no.
How many years is it?
Oh, God, I don't know.
And it's just a real,
50
it's
or
treasure of the town, that little triangular thing, so
Oh,
I.
it's, yeah, it is, it's very,
One more thing, I'm right. Yeah. I have not yet seen the invoices from the legal expenditure with Stitzel, Page and Fletcher. I did ask for these 6 weeks ago. Mr. Chair, I believe you promised to get them on a certain Monday morning.
I thought you could go into the finance office and look on the folders. I thought that's how it ended up, like in this discussion.
No, Mr. Chair was going to do it.
It was, all right, I misunderstood.
I didn't want to be.
And I think it came back at the next meeting, and that's what we decided, but if you would like, I can.
I just don't want to be
I
accused.
think it would be more appropriate for the chair if he wants to view those, to work with me and the finance office to get those documents.
All right.
And I guess I was unclear as to, does everybody want to see those? Is this just Mr. Clausen who wants to see them that we're going to gather them for?
I think if one person sees them, we should all see them.
I think we'd probably be interested in seeing them.
I think we should all see them, right?
So how do you want to do that? Do you want to then have that in a packet where we disclose all of our legal bills?
You can put it in a share file, like.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we could put them in a share file. That's a good way to do it.
Just that I noticed we're up to 22,900 this year, so we're about 28% of budget, but I'd just like to know where we're going. And
Understood. Yes.
I was just going to say, if we're going to do it in a share file, I think I could just make that request from Stitzel, Page and Fletcher. I'll have to go into the finance office.
Yeah, because that works well.
Yeah,
So I'll do that if that's the will of the board.
that's good. So that's not on the agenda. All right,
we'll just take it
number
offline.
23.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Here, let's vote. Awesome.
Aye.